am I? I'm Golden Truths, an Umineko podcast, a podcast about Umineko, episode 6. I am Jennifer Booher, host and witch of communication, joined by Annabelle Barsky.
I was right, and I wasn't even ready to be right.
Caelum O'Leary Codair.
Oh my god.
High energy, Isabelle Valant.
I was also right.
And returning from the war in his freshly acquired closet, Matthew Winter.
Hello.
Okay, that's not really coming through. Maybe it'll come through clearer on the recording.
What was that? Oh my god!
You know it, it's the happiness of Marionette, and that's the Marionette.
Oh, he's offended. Oh god, he's truly Madeler Ushiro Winter.
Yeah, I'm really excited for me to do the exact same situation as Battler, where I do an okay job and then immediately fail miserably.
Yay!
Yay!
Congratulations on your cool new closet, which I guess has like a house around it, but really we're here to celebrate the closet.
Yeah, I hope you get out of it one day.
Yeah, definitely. You'll just like pop right out of there, right?
You need a mascot for this podcast. If I stop being the straight man, what are we going to do?
Well, no, don't worry. We've got the chain. We've got the metaphysical chain that's trapped Madeler in here with us, so he can't ever leave.
But what if a twink rescues me?
Oh.
Speaking of a twink rescuing you, you and Caelum had a little bonus.
Whoa!
Catch-up
What
episode.
a pivot!
Had a little catch-up
I'm flattered,
episode.
I think.
Yeah, me and Caelum had a little catch-up episode because I've been reading real hard, and I was able to catch up to the current episode, and because I wasn't present on episode 5, I recorded in a weird spot and using a weird tone of voice because I wasn't where I usually can record, so I couldn't use the right volume. Anyway, episode 5 was recorded with me and Caelum. It was a bonus hidden tea party for everyone to enjoy.
Yes, truly, question mark. That will be available exclusively on the Golden Truths and Umineko podcast YouTube channel, which you can find by searching Golden Truths and Umineko podcast on YouTube, or by following any of the links that I'm sure are all over our various websites and social medias and whatnot and wherefore.
Been banished to YouTube.
I'm obsessed with last episode
You're
where
exclusive content, Matt.
you called anyone who watches a podcast on YouTube a freak, and now this episode...
Freaks only on this episode.
What are you, some sort of freak who wants to hear a white dude talk
That's why
about his
she's the
experience
witch
at
of
Umineko?
communication. Yeah, she's berating us into enjoying her art that she hates.
Yay! God. Well, we're all in sufficiently high spirits. It's time to dive into what is kind of the conclusion of Umineko so far.
Yeah, there's no more Umineko after this one.
There's no more. Those 2 other episodes? Fuck those.
Fuck
We're
those
done.
episodes. I don't want to
We're
read
not
them.
done. We're not done. Dawn of the Golden Witch, released originally on December 30th, 2009 at
Happy birthday,
Comiket
Matthew.
77. Released officially worldwide on November 17th, 2017 as a part of the full Answer Arcs release. Dawn of the Golden Witch pulls the camera out further than ever, revealing almost every episode we've read to be the work of fictional mystery author / Rakenjima incident enthusiast Toya Hachijo, who is, of course, simultaneously the witch of theater-going, drama, and spectating Featherine Augustus Aurora. Featherine summons a confused Angie Shiramiya to read her latest message bottle forgery, Dawn of the Golden Witch. Dawn of the Golden Witch, released originally on December 30th, 2009 at Comiket 77 and released officially worldwide on November 17th, 2017 as a part of the Full Answer Arcs release, brings the tale of Beatrice's game to a close as Battler, the new endless sorcerer and game master, confronts Erica on a game board of his own design to prove his mastery of all the game's riddles. To that end, Battler tells a story that sees Shannon and George and Cannon and Jessica fighting as couples to obtain the power of the 2 ambiguously but oppositely gendered demons of love, Zepar and Furfur, who hold the key to resolve these 2 loves that cannot coexist. Or is it 3? Joining this battle is the newly revived but incomplete Beatrice, who calls Battler her father and lacks any of the old Beatrice's arrogant, witchly ways. This chick Beato teams up with her older sister, a Beatrice who existed before the game board, to discover who it is they are both meant to become. Meanwhile, Erica tricks and traps Game Master Battler in a closed-room logic error, damning him to an eternal hell of solving his own now unsolvable puzzle. Now without her lover, Chick Beato is disqualified from the lovers contest, leaving Shannon and Cannon to engage in a final contest to see who will be allowed to become human and obtain the right to love. Their words and guns overlapping, fighting as two and as one, Cannon and Shannon leave the result to fate. Shannon shoots Cannon and Chick Beato both dissolve into the unobservable magic of the tale. In this twilight between life and death, Cannon offers to solve Battler's locked room for Chick Beato, who finally understands and resurrects into the complete Golden Witch. The resurrected Beatrice crashes Erica's after-party, defeats her by creating an even more devious, insane closed room, and frees Battler from his prison. Beatrice and Battler acknowledge each other, and the witch's game ends with Beatrice's victory, the new couple entering the Golden Land together. At least, that's how this story ends. After sending reader Angie back to her reality, Featherine Augustus Aurora summons a revenge-hungry Berncastle to ask her to create her own fragment to show Featherine the answers. What did everybody think about Dawn of the Golden Witch?
Yeah.
It was really good.
We won.
We won. Whoever wins, we win.
Me, I win because this was an episode for me specifically, and I had a great time the entire time except for that one part, which we'll get to.
I'm really
Yay.
sorry that Erica died. I hope you'll be okay.
Rip to her, but I'm different.
Hey, my favorite character dies every episode.
Hey. Yeah, finally someone else gets a taste of it.
My favorite character died 2,022 years ago. Shout-outs to our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's my favorite JoJo character.
Yeah, that's... Oh, God.
This podcast has become Catholic.
Oh... How Catholic has it all? We've been talking about, like, fucking demons from the expanded Christian syllabary or whatever.
Hey, remember episode 2? That was a really Catholic one.
We only started talking about fucking demons come episode 5, I think.
Hey, remember how episode 2 was about how Cannon and Shannon, like, both really love these two people, but, they feel like they can't love them, but they try to anyway, and Beatrice is also there, and only Cannon and Shannon can see them, and they talk all the time about love and about how they're furniture and they're not allowed to love. Remember that?
Yeah. What a weird
forgot.
coincidence that also comes up in episode 6 a lot.
Yeah, that's really fucking weird. We're here. We fucking made it.
We did it!
We made it, yeah.
We are on the precipice of the fucking Golden Land. All of us here. This is what it's all been for.
Yeah, finally, our first thing that is literally actually an answer. Finally. I, literally didn't know what to do with myself at the end of the episode, because I was like, oh, they just told us something. This isn't like another mystery to solve. They just gave us an answer. It's fucking lost.
I mean, okay, they didn't give us an answer, but if you're reading, then you know the thing it said was an answer.
Yeah, it's like
Which
if you are
is-
paying the barest amount of
That's
attention.
the answers are, because it's not about giving you the answers.
yeah, this book itself says to you, fucking Hachijo Toya looks you in the mouth and says, hey, reader, you have to read this to solve the answer.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good. It's good that way.
Like nothing is ever explicitly told to you in this episode. It is entirely things you intuit based on having to like read and process what you've read. And it fucking rocks. I love Umineko.
Yeah, which is not like uncommon for stories to do, but that it's like there's something about the way that Umineko like centers that and like has thematic work around that idea, that the idea that putting in the effort to understand a story or to understand something that you don't immediately understand is itself worthwhile and an act of love.
Jenn, I play enough JRPGs to let you know that yes, this is actually a very rare trait of fiction.
Literally. Like, not only...
Wait, you play enough JRPGs that you feel confident saying that about all of fiction?
Yes! As we know, JRPGs
The sampler
are
plate of media, JRPGs.
the
Maybe we
highest form of media.
Maybe it's better to say that among a certain tier of fiction that we all kind of tend to congregate in, which is anime and video games and visual novels and stuff, that there isn't a lot of an overwhelming amount of work in those that rely upon heavy reader interpretation, and that in fact value that interpretation. Like usually in those spaces, those stories exist towards other ends, but and you know, like it's just good. It's just good. One thing I want to say about episode 6, like the actual episode, before we get into the summary part and going through the beats and or get too zoomed out, is that reading through episode 6, I think that in terms of actually being an episode of this story, this might be on the lower end of my spectrum, just because there are parts of this episode that fucking drag. Like, when Erica is like doing all of her shit on the game board, and there's these extended sequences where she's talking to Rudolph and Hideyoshi and like manipulating everybody, it's like that would have been really interesting in like episode 3, where it may have been intended to show up originally. But like here, it's just, I don't give a goddamn. We're talking about answers and Beatrice and shit, and I found that stuff to be kind of tedious. But the parts of this story that are not tedious are fucking awesome.
I think this has the most George in it, which means it is the worst episode.
I don't know. Episode
2
or
had
3?
a lot of George in it. But
2 had maximum George close-up.
This one had entirely too much George in it. Though I actually have nice things about George to say, possibly. Maybe I might change my mind later.
We fucking come full circle. No, I know.
No, I still can't stand the man, but I mean, he does have a Chad moment.
Literally, I think we are syncing up here.
Yeah. We are on the same wavelength.
And one thing I wanted to note about the episode before we got too deep into it was pointing out that a member of the 7th expansion staff passed away during the production of episode 5. We often talk about these novels in terms of Ryukishi's writing and how he's kind of like the mastermind behind it all, but there is like an entire extended staff of people making these and programming these, not even to mention the music and the sound effects and all of that stuff. And one member of that team is a guy who was known by his the alias BT, who passed away on July 10th, 2009, which was about a month and change before episode 5 came out. And this is notable because he is one of Ryukishi's earliest collaborators. He was one of the people who was pushing Ryukishi to write Higurashi in the first place. And in this journal post that I will be linking in the show notes, Ryukishi even refers to BT as his first reader, which, you know, as we get into the story, we will find out is a term that has a great significance in episode 6 and going forward.
Oh my god, so many implications of him saying that are both heavy and also ridiculous.
I just can't believe how much it's just the Princess Bride in this episode.
You're right.
Yeah, kind of is.
Can you elaborate on that?
Grandpa, is that really how it happened?
Uh-huh.
Will you let me tell the story or not, kid?
Oh, Angie.
Beatrice does not die at this time.
But, so, the passing of BT is often kind of cited, at least within the fandom, as kind of a turning point for Umineko, which, in episode 6, and we'll see through the last 2 episodes, becomes really heavily about the idea of people dying and passing on, and what do you do once someone is dead, and you know, there is this hole left where that person was, and what is the meaning you make out of that. And the stories, I mean, 5 wasn't exactly a happy ending, with Beatrice literally dying at the end of it, but 6 is kind of a fantasy, I guess.
Yeah.
Where Beatrice revives and comes back and everybody fucking kisses and everything's fine and happy at the very end, you know, minus that hidden tea party. So I think this is something that, you know, we can't actually know how much effect BT's passing had on the creation of these last 3 episodes, but it is something that is very notable, especially considering the existence of, this character Hachijo Toya and the rest of this entire series, but especially the rest of these episodes being about the concept of readers and responding and the relationship between a writer and their audience and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Speaking of a writer in their audience, let's talk about Hachijo Toya, who is also at the same time feathering Augustus Aurora, witch of theater-going drama and spectating.
I was so happy when I saw her design, and I'm like, her horns would be way cooler if it was like a halo, and then I looked at her tips, and it just specifically says that it's a halo.
It's the memory
Thank
device.
you, Ryukishi, for...
Literally, as soon as she popped, I was like, oh, it's a big Hanyu.
Literally a big Hanyu.
And then I looked at it, and Hanyu. And then I looked at it, and I saw that it was a halo, and I was like, huh, that doesn't track, but whatever. I like it.
There's even something in her character page, if I'm remembering right. Let me do a quick little... Yes, the horseshoe-shaped object floating around her head is a memory aid device. She would not be able to preserve her own individuality without this.
Yeah, she has a funny little hard drive halo.
I'll just note again, in case you just randomly decided to listen to this episode first instead of all of our others, that this is a full Higurashi spoiler zone, so if you are worried about that, I would encourage you to tune out now, or I will not be providing time stamps for this, so live dangerously if you like. So yeah, she's obviously like really close to this character in Higurashi, 7th expansion's previous work, named Hanyu, who is Oyashiro-sama, who is like, we could, in the parlance of Umineko, we could think about her as Rika's player, almost.
She's the game master of Higurashi, probably.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't read Higurashi, but I watched the anime once over a decade ago. So,
that's good enough.
I have perfect recall of everything, but she's the one that's, like, causing time to, like, Groundhog Day to loop, because it's not literally Groundhog Day, it's like flipping between different game boards essentially. So in the Umineko context, then she is the game master running the Higurashi board, if she's Hanyu, which she is.
Yeah, literally. Well, there's some other stuff in further 7th expansion works that complicates that relationship just a teeny tiny little bit. But essentially, yeah, that she is meant to be understood as kind of Umineko's version of Hanyu, in the way that Burncastle is Umineko's version of Rika, and Lambda Delta is Umineko's version of Takano?
Yeah.
No, we
I have the understanding
out.
that it was one character, and then the new animes changed that or something.
Which is what I said.
I literally
as a guess
know
1,000
nothing
years
about
ago.
them.
It's the little blonde bitch.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple little blonde bitches.
It's the small. It's the kid with Satoko.
Satoko.
It's the angry sicko one who literally has Lambda Delta's personality. Whatever. None of this matters.
I don't mean to derail everything here, but I have actually been thinking about the definition of witch, and I think it's more a mindset that you can adopt under certain trauma. So, like, Burncastle is part of Rika, but anyone who went through that trauma or a similar trauma who needs to be able to find the exact, like, the miracle within it would develop a Burncastle, effectively. So anybody who goes through whatever it is for Takano and Satoko would develop a Lambda Delta.
Yeah, and that's kind of explained in a bonus episode of Higurashi that I haven't read called Saikoroshi, the dice killing chapter. And it's even in kind of the later parts of Higurashi proper, where they talk about becoming a witch as becoming detached from reality and becoming like someone who is above humans and doesn't care about whether or not people die or not, which has some interesting resonances with a certain golden witch that we will be talking about a lot later in this episode. To be a witch is to be someone who plays with people's lives, and Feathering is like the highest order witch that we have met so far. Like, literally not even playing the game. She is someone like watching over Beatrice in Battler's game, or, in another simultaneous yet distinct reality, the one literally writing the last 4 episodes that we've read. Which is fucking crazy.
I think it's cool that, like, there is the most obvious comparison ever to make about Hachijo, which is that she's Ryukishi's self-insert. But the thing is that she sucks. She's like a dickhead. Like, she's like
so good.
actively
She's so
like
great.
really aggressive and like disrespectful of her audience. So, like, man, if this is Ryukishi's self-insert, I hope he's okay.
He's obviously not, because his self-insert is an enormous MILF or whatever.
Yeah, enormous evil titty mommy kidnaps this fucking kid and makes her read her shitty fucking RPF.
She does not kidnap Angie.
Doesn't she?
No, she's
Angie
actually
is
nice
there
to
of
Angie.
her own will. She respects Angie as being the only person with critical thinking that Hachijo has ever met in her entire life.
Literally.
She doesn't keep her there, but Angie stays there in some respects because she's like aware on some levels of the game board, because holy shit, how the game board expands in this one, that once she leaves this, she's going to die. Right?
Yeah, she literally in Angie's last moments, like, compliments her, gives her clarity on the situation surrounding the mystery of her brother, and is like, I hope I see you again someday, knowing full well she never will. Like, she's, like, actually nice to her. She's a totally nice person, and if your audience is a bunch of idiots who are like, poo-poo pee-pee, help, I don't know who Beatrice is, and I refuse to know, you have to tell me, then of course I'd be furious and make an evil mommy who tells you suck too. Like, I would totally have made Featherin. So I respect Ryukishi deeply for this choice.
I spent at some point, like, I spent a while trying to find, like, active live blogs of the initial fan translations of Umineko as they released, like, which is kind of hard to do because this was 13 years ago at this point.
Yeah.
And, like, a lot of it was very shallow interpretations of the story is the nicest thing I will say about it, possibly because I was, like, looking at fucking My Anime List because that's the only thing I could find that, like, had forms from 2008 and 2009. And it was entirely talking about shipping.
Yeah, God, what's Featherine fucking say? She's like, or that, it might have been Hachijo specifically. She says, like, if I had 100 people read it, 90 would actually read all the way through it, 50 would, like, understand it, and only 20 would actually understand it, or it's something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember the exact quote. But yeah, you can definitely feel, I mean, 6 episodes in, you must imagine that someone who is writing a story, who literally rewrote episode 3, like scrapped everything he had and like fucking replanned and remade episode 3 in order to give people more handholds in terms of reading and solving the mystery. You can imagine someone might be kind of pissed and through with it by the time episode 6 rolls around if people are still like
on top of the trauma.
I'm of two minds about Hachijo as like reader self-insert. Obviously there's the one of like maybe Ryukishi really is kind of burnt out and pissed at his fandom, or the one that I kind of prefer, which is that like she's intentionally a lot more mean-spirited than he really is, because like Umineko, like despite everything, is an extremely like tender and like optimistic like thing. Like it's all about vulnerability and like the like deep relationship that you have with your audience. So, you know, if Hachijo is just meant to be a shallow, like I'm pissed off at my audience thing, it feels kind of antithetical to everything else.
I totally agree. I think it's probably more accurate to say that she is like a version of a reaction that Ryukishi could be having.
She's a piece of Ryukishi.
Yeah, like a whole lot of what goes on in this episode is that like, you know, multiple characters to reflect different facets of like one individual, right?
Yeah, huh? How about that?
Yeah, weird, huh? There's a lot of themes in this one. And in that respect, Hachijo and Featherine would both be facets of Ryukishi. Maybe that feels so intimate to think about it that way, though. I don't know if I like it.
I mean, with the way that Hachijo literally inserts herself right before the climax of the story and says, "I want to give the rest of these stories only to those who have thought." Like, I feel like there's definitely an amount of author insertion happening here. You know, how much are they being dressed up into their own character or not is, you know, something that we can never truly know, but you know, it's that trusting that emotional truth of that. You don't write a character like that unless in a story like Umineko, unless I think there's a tiny little bit, there is like a fragment of Ryukishi in there, a piece.
Yeah, I truly think that like Ryukishi is so intentioned in what he writes that this is obviously like something that he expects people to like get out of this. Like he doesn't write basically anything on accident as holy fuck this episode demonstrates.
Oh yeah. I wanted to hit on a couple of things to get back inside of the story a little bit. I wanted to highlight a couple of things that we actually learn about like the world of Umineko from this, which is that, like, namely, like I said, that Hachijo Toya, that episodes 3 through 6 have all been real person fan fiction written by this Toya Hachijo person who is, like, a big fan of the quote-unquote real-life Rakenjima incident that happened in the past of Angie's, like, present of 1998.
Oh my God, you're reminding me. I was, like, trying to research about, like, what true crime fandom looked like, ideally in Japan in the 2000s, because, like, obviously,
Erica talks a lot about that.
a very obvious like comparison to me in 2022 as an English language reader, that like true crime fandom is huge here. Like people make millions off of fucking podcasts about,
and there's a
true
like
crime.
significant true crime like criticism / backlash movement kind of happening right now.
I like to like follow like unresolved mysteries type stuff, because I think the ones that aren't about murders are really interesting. Like, what the fuck is the largest industry to use glitter? That's a really good mystery. But I keep having to like stumble into like very fan fiction-ish write-ups of real life murders. Like, it is a very, very, very common way people like interface and interact with like real life tragedies. And like, I don't know how much that existed back then. But it's definitely something that I felt really resonated with, Hachijo writing very like fan fiction about Rock and Jima, right?
Yeah, and the way that she is said to have like, the smell is the way that this book puts it, which I love. She has the scent of the truth on her stories. That she is like very well respected, which is I don't know. I mean, I guess a question I have of you four is like, knowing that the last 3 books that we've read, the last 4 books now that we've read, are technically a kind of in-universe fiction. I mean, you could say that all of Umineko has been in-universe fiction, right? Because we have the 2 message bottles that washed up, which I guess at this point we could probably assume to be episodes 1 and 2, and then episodes 3 through 6 are the forgeries. Knowing that all of Umineko that we've read, or most of Umineko that we've read, is this kind of in-world fiction, does that change anything about the way you approach the stories, or like, does it add anything? Does it subtract anything? Does it modify it at all?
For me, that was one of my earliest questions, I think, was like, what is the meta state of things here? Like, what are we, beyond red truths and like mystery battles on the game board, like what are we made to believe is real, and what are we to do with that information? And I think it's still one of the questions that I still have going on right now, because the feeling I was left with finishing episode 6 was satisfaction in knowing that like my mystery solution that I had devised was like pretty much correct, but I still don't know what to make of like what really happened on Rokenjima. I don't know what to take away. Like, what is the purpose of solving the episode 3 clockwork closed room mystery when that wasn't even real? That's like the question I've had all along, and I still have no answer for it. I'm like, it leaves me feeling antsy. I still want to read episode 7 and 8, because I'm hoping that like by learning the answers, quote unquote, to just what actually happened, that gives us some, I don't know, maybe some new emotional content, because this was all beautiful, but it was like in line with what we had expected. Maybe that'll just, I don't know, maybe that'll really clear things up. I guess it has to, but I'm hoping it feels like resolution, and not like that's a nice moment, but that's not really the answer I was hoping for.
Generally, I have approached the like question of what is real and what isn't in Umineko as like, it doesn't matter, who cares? Like the fictional, like if it is fictional, that it is just as valid and real as, if it were real. Like I don't think it is helpful to just kind of pick it apart and be like, oh, but what really happened? But like, there's such an emphasis in this episode about every previous episode being in universe fiction that I really don't think that's a response that cuts it anymore. Like, this is one of the first major things where it's like, I don't really have an answer. Like, I don't have like a interpretation that I'm comfortable with yet.
I feel like part of what I feel about the fact that the 3 onward is in universe fiction, I don't think it necessarily changes a lot about how the stories are being told, because we're being told the story from the perspective of somebody is writing a fiction about what happened in Rokenjima, but it's usually a witch. But now it's just, a real human person in the Angie universe is writing these stories. Like, it's just another layer of the meta layers that are
the metaverse, it's real. Oh god.
The metaverse is real.
You can't say that.
But it's actually even more silly than that, because I would argue none of the ones we have read so far have actually been things that took place on Rokenjima. I mean, books 1 and 2 are just what someone wrote and sent out before the murders happened. I mean, we have not. What do you got, Jenn?
Well, one thing we can know for certain is that episodes 1, 2, 4, Probably 5 and 6, although I guess those games don't actually end. But one thing we can know is that none of those games are what actually happened on Rakenjima, because Eva dies, and in the future, we don't see multiple different futures where it's like, oh, here's Angie living with Hideyoshi, here's Angie living with Jessica. Like, there is like one future that comes out of the Rakenjima incident, and Eva survives.
There's only been one game where somebody makes it out alive.
Yeah, that was one of my big questions, too, with that episode. From the beginning, was like, what is the value of the whole Angie Race to the Future challenge if that wasn't true either? Because if episode 3 was forged, then none of that was true. And, like, so do we take the fact that this meta-level witch who exists, this is all, like, what magic means, what meta means. Like, this meta-level witch speaks to Ange in the metaverse. God, I can't say that. In the meta board, and like walks her through this one that she wrote and explains this stuff to her. Does this adult Angie really exist? She interfered with the one game. On what level do these things matter? I think it's interesting, Caelum, what you said about, like, does it matter what's true or not? And I am going back to my fucking magic roots, and I'm like, I don't know. I think it does cut it that maybe it doesn't matter, because I think God, what really happened on Rakenjima matters, because I want to fucking know, like, who killed who and why these people grew up the way they did. But I think for, like, our solution in our hearts, it doesn't matter, right? Like, couldn't you end here and be satisfied? Isn't that what magic is? Isn't that, like, what we've been fighting about since the start?
Yeah, I agree with that way of thinking, because I reached the end of episode 6, and I was like, cool, perfect.
Yeah.
Echo's over.
I wonder.
So, like, oh man, do we want to get into the ending of this episode this quick, though?
Let's try and let's
let's
hold ourselves back a little bit.
Because I've got things to say about it.
I just want to slide something in that I didn't get a chance to say earlier, which is about Hanyu from Higurashi.
Please do.
Yeah, no timestamps. Sorry, pals. It's coming weird and wild. So Hanyu is explicitly not a witch or a human. Hanyu is a god in that universe. And it's a god who only has so many believers, so they don't have much power, but you can draw parallels between belief in witches to belief in gods and stuff.
Yeah, totally.
But even considering that, Hanyu in universe is still able to affect things on a level that a witch is not. She is still a level above what a witch can do in a story.
Yeah, totally, which jives with her having a lot of similarities to / being a version of Featherine, who is above even like Burncastle and Lambda Delta as Voyager witches. She is the witch of theater-going drama and spectating. She is the one literally writing the story, which is something like Burncastle and Lambda Delta play the game. They can play with the rules, but never before has the camera, like I said, has the camera been as zoomed out as it is. There's not a version of Burncastle in the future who is actually writing Umineko. There is one of Featherine, and by that token, Hanyu.
I like the part where, like, it's emphasized, and basically mostly her tips page, that, like, the only thing that she lives for is, like, telling and learning about stories. That's really interesting.
That's similar to what is said of Lambda and Burncastle, what they say about themselves and each other, that they are their only existence is escaping boredom, and that the only thing they care about is to escape boredom. They don't actually care about the lives of the people on the game board because they exist fully above the game board. The people on the game board are literally nothing but pieces, nothing but chess pieces to them. And so to have a character who is even higher above that. What I wanted to say is that this is when a part of Umineko that, like, I'm reading through Umineko, for the whateverth time, the time I finally get through it. And, I know about the game boards and the witches and Beatrice's game, and that's the kind of thing that, like, keeps me hooked through to the middle of it. But one of the things that kept me hooked afterwards was this new layer that we're discovering right now. The fact that Umineko is a story that teaches you how to read it. And then once you have learned how to read it, it reveals that actually there have been levels of the story that you have been reading this whole time, but not actually conceptualized as their own level of interpretation, their own level of analysis that you could be looking at these through. So, which is like, there is the game board. There's the tale of like the game board, what's happening on it. There's the tale above the game board, which is Beatrice weaving this tale for Battler, which is Lambda Delta weaving this tale for Battler and Battler for Erica. And then there's that level even above that where you are reading a story of like Beatrice challenging Battler. That was written by, you know, this person who signs their name, Maria Ushiramiya. But you are reading this version of this story written by this person who we now know, you know, the message bottle forgeries is something we've known about since episode 4, but now we know that all the ones we've read have come from Hachijo Toya. And so there is a second layer or a third layer, I think, that we can start to think about where for the two message bottles, for the two, like, quote unquote, like real message bottles that came from, we can only assume, the culprit, the person who signs their name Beatrice in Maria's notebook, you know, have a different feeling to them compared to 3 and onward. And you could call that, and maybe not incorrectly, you could call that its own retcon by the game master. But even so, I think it holds up in that way. And you can begin to think about episode 2 especially. Episode 2 especially. A story written by the culprit about Shannon and Cannon and even Beatrice's internal lives. And those moments when, you know, Beatrice is in the locked room with Cannon and Jessica, and in the locked room with Shannon and George, you know, love is nothing, love is lust, love is nothing, you are pathetic, you will never know anything, etc., etc. And there's this whole new understanding you can begin to have, or maybe not even new, but like an expanded understanding of what those scenes are, since they are literally fiction being written by a quote-unquote real person in the real world of Umineko.
Oh, you're saying that some of those scenes, beyond being how we interpret them or how we're solving the mystery and shit, those might actually, the words of them, the fabric of them might even be colored by like in-universe characters.
Think about I mean, we're not going to talk about the ending and the culprit too much right now. Obviously, you're in episode 6. You fucking know this stuff. I hope you do, because here it fucking comes. I mean, whatever. It was in my summary. But like, you think about that moment at the beginning of episode 1, where Shannon is showing up in the cousin's room, and Battler is approaching her, being like, I'm gonna touch your boobies, haha, woo, my secret. Oh, she's not. Oh, she's just going to let me touch them. What's up with that? Why is she doing that? Wah. That scene and so many others, even in the forgeries, have this entirely new color to them.
Oh God!
Now that we understand what the truth behind those moments are, when Beatrice talks about when all the talk of that Kinzo, quote unquote Kinzo, has in the first few episodes of the demon's roulette of leaving things to chance, there's so much to talk about. So. Unless anyone has anything else, let's go ahead and race through the content of this story so we can fucking talk about Beatrice.
Shannon was just delighted to finally have Battler touching her boobies.
Oh my
After all this time?
Sometimes you just have to leave things to chance.
The demon roulette is the name of her 2 breasts. Anyway.
Demon and roulette, that's it. Oh, so Featherine calls Angie in and says, hey, would you like to read my cool new RPF, Dawn of the Golden Witch? In Dawn of the Golden Witch, we have Battler and Erica ready to face down for one final witch's game. Winner takes all. Either Erica defeats the witch and Battler is banished for all time and Erica becomes the forever game master, or Battler wins and takes the gold, as it were, and preserves Beatrice's game forever. Just to keep things pretty high level here, one thing that I had struggled with in this episode for a long time, even going back to my original read-through in like high school, is all of the parallels between Battler and Kinzo in this episode. And I found them parallels like Battler is attended by Genji and Kumasawa instead of Renove and Virgilia. Battler literally resurrects Beatrice and pines for the Beatrice that he knew instead of the Beatrice that is in front of him. He has the cape with the white suit. I mean, the white suit has been there since episode 1. And I had struggled up until now to come to an understanding about this that was not like some deeply fucked up metaphor about how like, oh, Kinzo wasn't so bad actually, he was just sad about it.
Yeah, I would love to definitely dodge any concept of Kinzo being sympathetic. Would love to weave that tale. But it is pretty fucked that Battler creates a new person in the image of someone he once knew and loved named Beatrice, who is fully aware that she isn't really Beatrice and is trying to strive to become someone that she has been formed in the shape of but will never be. Pretty weird of him, not gonna lie.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was for a very long time. I think some things we need to keep in mind is, one, like, this Beatrice is literally not real. Like, literally does not exist in the world. Yeah, but literally, like, she is, like, I think the metaphor is messy. I think the metaphor is messy and, like, slightly fucked, and this will definitely continue through to the rest of the episodes that we read, but, to give it, like, a somewhat... to meet fucking Ryukishi / Hachijo halfway here, there is a key difference to what Battler does with his revived Beatrice, both in and what Kinzo does with his revived Beatrice, both in terms of the context and the actual actions that they take. The context is that this Beatrice is a Beatrice who is like a manifestation of the rules of the game board, right? Not literally a human person who Kinzo is keeping trapped in a mansion on Rakenjima for 20 years.
Yeah, she's a literal magic construct.
Yeah, and like she literally meets an earlier version, not like an earlier version of Beatrice, like another person who was Beatrice, but an earlier version of herself. And like goes on a quest to like become fully Beatrice.
The gimme that I would do is that Battler, one, doesn't seem to have very much intentionally created this Beatrice. Two, seems to kind of eschew that.
Bless you.
Thank you. He doesn't want her to be literally Beatrice. Like he comes to terms by the end of the episode that like she will never be the Beatrice that he knew, which is something Kinzo never did, right? Like he is not like keeping her in the shape of Beatrice against her will. You know, I do think the comparisons are a little fucked, but I think you could probably interpret this as like a cycles abuse kind of thing, where like Battler starts moving in the same shape that Kinzo did, but notably breaks off and is a kinder, more sympathetic person than Kinzo, who totally, you know, like gives into the idea of trying to recreate someone who he's lost.
I think that works for a more sort of a thematic read in that regard, where it's like, hey, this Kinzo and Battler sort of have the same starting point at this point in regards to Beatrice, but Kinzo goes his way and Battler goes his other way. But I think in this case, Beatrice is also a representation of the rules, and we can interpret that as Battler realizing he's not going to be able to create a story like Beatrice could before. Because the 4 games that were run by Beatrice was alive and well. And then in episode 5, when the game was not being run by Beatrice was dying, and it was these people who weren't running the game right. And now Beatrice is dead, and it's up to Battler to even come up with something that could possibly have worked for the game at all. And he tries to create something that Beatrice could create, and it doesn't work.
There's always been parallels between Kinzo and Battler. I remember I want to say it's episode 2 or 4, where Beatrice, as the family alchemist, says that Battler has Kinzo's black blood, and refers to Kinzo as someone who had no magical talent at all, but still succeeded anyway, which is very much what Battler's game master in this episode is doing, right? He has no talent for this, but by God is he trying.
Didn't Maria also have a tip that said that she had black blood?
I don't remember.
I think so.
She becomes a black witch. Yeah,
I'm not sure. I don't actually remember that.
I don't remember that super well. That rings a bell.
Like half of Battler's not animations, but expressions are literally just mirrors of Kinzo's. Like that little smug smile he does with his eyes closed, same exact face.
Yeah. The parallels have been there like since day one, literally with the white suit. Yeah, Caelum, that's literally what I was going to say, is that Battler is trapped in this recursion. He begins trapped in this recursion of reenacting, like, Beatrice is gone and I'll never have her back, ooh, Beatrice. But yeah, the key difference there is that Battler does come to the understanding that this Beatrice is not his Beatrice, is not the Beatrice that he knew, and will never be that Beatrice. Think of her as my daughter or whatever.
Is it Dlaynor who talks to him and gets through to him on that?
No, I think it's him having a conversation with a peace Beatrice that he constructs. It's him kind of talking back to himself through a peace Beatrice that he made. We also do get the red text from Featherine around this time that Beatrice, meaning the Beatrice of games 1 through 5, will never revive. Which leaves us with a couple questions about what exactly the end of this game is.
See, it's unlike Kinzo. She was born with talent rather than Kinzo, who didn't have talent but worked super hard instead.
This episode's tip uses the words "inherited the black blood from Kinzo."
Yeah.
For both Battler
I'm sorry,
and
is she wearing platform shoes?
Oh yeah. She's been wearing chunkers for a while.
Chunkers?
I guess the whole game.
She's like 4 years old.
She's 9.
Rose is a fucking fashion
She can't
designer.
reach the gumball machine?
This is the least responsible thing that Rosa has ever done about raising Maria.
God.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Finally, Maria's at the correct height to punch Battler directly in the penis. You guys wanted me back.
Yeah, we did.
For some reason, Matt, and here you are, in top form.
My God, their outfits are super similar. I never noticed.
Yeah, dog. The red undershirt, the white suit, it's all there.
To be clear, like, Kinzo's outfit's really dominated by the cape, so I feel like it is, like, pretty difficult to realize what's going on until Battler puts on the sick cape.
But yeah, even then you could read it as, the cape has dominated him, the cape being the loss of Beatrice, in a way.
Wow, really makes you think.
Really does make you think.
Hey, that's a good thematic reading.
No, that actually really is a good.
He moves through that, he becomes he fails at it, but like he accepts, the new Beatrice as herself and not as just a manifestation of the old Beatrice. And even at the very end, this is something that I'm really only able to confidently say through reading the voice-acted version, but when Beatrice revives and comes to save Battler at the very end, she sometimes switches back into her chick Beatrice voice before going back and forth to her like old, cackly ahaha.wav voice too. So the Beatrice at the end truly is not the old Beatrice. It is this chick Beatrice who is just learned who she is and accepted and become herself,
It's the synthesis between, God, we're not even really talking about Beatrice, but it's the synthesis between, the real world, the version of her that exists to love Battler, and the version of her that exists to do fucked up, crazy, sexy magic. The same way that, we as readers have reached a synthesis in this episode between understanding what magic is and understanding what the truth is, and using magic to reach a higher level of truth, etc., etc. The parallels.
That's something, I'm not sure if we're at a point in the discussion where I can, confidently draw these lines yet, but this is something I've been thinking about. Umineko is all about the, superposition of truths, that multiple things can be true at once. And I think something that we can begin to see here, probably even earlier, is the idea that the superposition of truths extends all the way out to fantasy and mystery as well. It is not that either fantasy is true or mystery is true. It's that at once the formless, emotional, magical world exists, and also the mystery exists. And also there are concrete facts that this person did this and this person did that. And, that this person killed this other person. That at the same time as there is beauty and formlessness and questionability, there is firmness and concrete answers.
Yeah, and we were introduced to that idea back in episode 4, but I feel like with the two Beatrices thing, with the, Featherin explaining things thing, it really solidifies here. It's really finally put into practice. If you weren't already practicing, it becomes undeniable at that point.
Can I circle back to the voice acting? I wanted to give a shout out to how fucking ridiculously talented Sayako Ohara is in this episode, because she has a lot of conversations with herself.
That's Beatrice. That's
Beatrice's voice actor. Sorry. She has a lot of conversations with herself that are pretty extremely well done. Chick Beatrice and Beatrice the Elder have obviously the same voice, but have such different like intonations and like ways of speaking that they feel like distinct people. That, like Jenn said at the end, like when, you know, there is one Beatrice, like she switches between the speaking styles of both of them, and so you can like really recognize that it's like a synthesis of both the Beatrices we've seen before. Just like, goddamn, the voice acting is really good.
Yeah, and even between Beatrice the Elder and the original Beatrice, I guess we'll call her, there are these subtle distinctions where Beatrice the Elder really talks in this like highly formal, archaic, like, I am Beatrice the Master, but lacks the kind of like capricious earnestness of our Beatrice, of the original Beatrice, both in terms of the writing and in terms of her performance. She continues to be the star, along with Erica.
Erica's voice actor also very good in this one. We can get into that.
A turn as the rat of Rakenjima. Gosh. Do we want to say anything else? I have here on our outline to talk about Chick Beato and Beato the Elder. Does anyone have anything specific to say about her before we get into kind of the game and Erica? I feel like we kind of covered her.
Man, the way Chick Beato just kind of hops between different levels of the game board
it's
is
fucking
like,
insane.
Fuck anybody who tries to like define the boundaries between like Hachijo's level and Featherine's level, and then like the level of people commenting on the game board, and the people actually working on the game board, and then the people who are pieces on the game board and the game board itself, because my god, is this character hopping between all of those.
I know. We should say really quick, so Chick Beato is like this manifestation of the rules of the game board. She's really sweet and really nice and calls Battler father, and Battler has a whole complex about that. And then later we meet Beato the Elder, who is the Beatrice who exists before the game board, explicitly said to be, in the characters page, explicitly said to be the Beatrice who gives Shannon and Cannon the brooch in episode 2. And both of these Beatrices interact and eventually reintegrate and become some version of our Beatrice. And they go on fun little adventures. And we learn so much about Beatrice's past and who Beatrice is, both from these two and from Angie and Featherine, having like their little Statler and Waldorf routine above Chick Beatrice and Beatrice the Elder.
There's like some really, like, obviously, like, there's themes in this episode that we'll get into.
There's some themes.
But, like, you know, there's like, oh man, I have to find the actual line of dialogue that was like, Beatrice the Elder, like, I think in her first conversation with Beatrice, like, the chick, where she's like, I was complete once.
Yeah, Beatrice the fucking chick, am I right? Beatrice like the fucking whoever over here. Like, fucking who, I don't know.
Beatrice the extra. Beato the Elder was like, I was complete once and now you exist, right? That's really interesting. Like, there's a lot of ways you can interpret that line, that she was a complete person, and then possibly, you know, she met Battler, and then that impacted her so much that she became someone like very distinctly different, right?
Oh, no, I'm a morosexual.
She was given her love for Battler by by her mother. A very, very, very spicy.
I don't know if I like framing Battler and question marks as Beato's parents. But you know, that sure is something the episode does.
That is sure is something the episode does, and it does have certain resonances with, like, say, some stuff from episode 1. I've
been workshopping a joke about how Battler is a unstoppable boobs man, but at least he draws the line at being called daddy. But I haven't come up with anything as funny yet.
No, that was it. That's as funny as it's gonna get.
In this episode, he's a bride, so, you know, maybe
he's literally
maybe
a bride.
Yeah.
Oh God. One thing I did want to say, maybe we can save this for later. I don't know. We've talked about Beatrice enough. We'll talk about pieces and players in a little bit.
We have not talked about Beatrice enough.
We have never talked about Beatrice enough.
We can keep talking about Beatrice.
We have to get to the designated Beatrice quarantine zone where we all lose our fucking minds about
it's leaking.
We've
it's
made
escaping.
It, like, one page into our document.
Yeah,
we're close. We're close.
I've been recording for an hour and a quarter.
God. Okay. So Battler sets up his murder mystery, which, as it goes on and begins to fall to shit, is revealed to be, well, Matt, you were the one who wanted to talk about this. Do you want to set up Battler's fun murder mystery night?
So, after 5 episodes of the coolest things, Battler awakens. Finally, the Game Master. He understands everything and everyone. He's ready to do this. Within 2 Twilights, it's all fallen completely apart and he's stuck in mind hell.
Specifically, what What has fallen apart, Matt? What is Battler's great murder mystery scheme?
No one dies. It was a funny joke we played on you, Erica. Because nobody likes you.
Nobody likes you. You like murder mysteries so much. Check this shit out.
I think it's not necessarily that everyone hates her, though. My God, it is so funny how the difference in characters interacting with Erica are between this one and that one, and like episode 5.
Between Lambda's episode.
Yeah,
and
where
Battler's,
Lambda is like, here's Erica, she's the main character of the story, everyone loves her, and then here's episode 6, where here's Erica, she's an annoying piece of shit, we only barely tolerate
This
her.
was
So
someone they were
good.
stuck with for 3 days.
This
yeah.
feels like a sending like children's game to play for her, right? Like, she's a detective. She thinks she's a detective, right? Let's make a little pretend murder game for her to solve. She'll feel
you
so
like
good about
puzzles
it.
so much.
Yeah,
I solved your cheese puzzle, so I've got you now, Erica.
I have a big piece of cheese.
I've solved your cheese puzzle, and now I'm going to murder 6 people because fuck you, goddammit.
So, I mean, I think it's like really telling into like Battler's character that the game he does run has 0 murders in it.
Yeah, totally.
That he tries so hard to like
he tries
make something.
It tries to have 0 murders
Well,
in
yeah,
it.
he tries to have 0 murders and fails. But that's because somebody hijacks his game. Love that for her. But he tries to set up a game board on the quality of Beatrice, but he can't bring himself to actually kill anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's ultimately...
And that's what fucks him over. Like he can't commit to anyone actually dying.
Yeah, he can't actually play the game in that
That's
way.
what I love about this series, and what I've loved from the beginning is the fucking continuity of character, like how important the fucking emotional truths are outside of the red truths, because like his whole... what's the word? His reason for his motivation in trying to solve like the first 4 games or whatever, the first several that he's doing is like, I can't imagine my family members being the culprit. No Ushiramiya would do this. I won't suspect any of my family members, is what he's saying over and over. And it makes it harder for him then as a player. And then it makes him fail now as a game master. It's just like the way characters are set up and continue to be that way, even now that he's a game master, even now that he has a weird, lover, child, offspring's magic spawn thing going on. Like, he's still the same person, truly, 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 which I love.
Yeah,
I love.
he sets up this game to show that he understands why the game was made, and then he can't actually follow through with it.
Yeah, he doesn't give himself room to prove that outside of, like, dying about it to
it's
show
a truth
Beatrice
that he knows
loves her.
inside, but is willing to actually say it, pretty much.
Yeah, it is a game fully based around love, which is interesting. Like, certainly the truth of the matter, as we learn, but it is like, yeah, it's so magical and so fantastical, and it ends up, literally putting him in a box.
And then his inability to make a game that is actually what Beatrice would make, I think it's paralleling how he's unable to resurrect Beatrice. Because his game falls short because it's, like, not actually a murder mystery. It's just everyone pulling a prank. And then his Beatrice falls short because she's, like, just super kind and nice. Which is also, like, what Battler kind of wants out of his game. And there's a parallel between what he's doing with his game and what he's doing with his Beatrice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's like...
I think...
No, you go. I don't have anything interesting to say.
Well, as ever, I'm interested in complicating that narrative, because remember that Beatrice could have won her game literally at the end of either episodes 2 or 3 if she wanted to, but she didn't.
God.
She kept the game going. This is something explicitly called out in this episode, that why did Beatrice shirk victory the 2 times she had it handed to her on a silver platter?
Yeah, remember that in
or 3 times, even if you go back to episode 1.
The end of episode 3, we realized this as a whole. I think Izzy realized this as specialers, that fucking Beatrice bit it at the end. She was like having so much fun and like actually happy with Battler that Virgilia had to be like, remember why you're doing this? And she was like, oh right, back to sicko mode. Haha, never mind.
Back to sicko mode.
Right, yeah, and it was like super cartoonish, and like Battler, obviously they could have just played it straight, but instead like Beatrice and Virgilia did this funny little like comedy routine basically, and like Lambda Delta is like, hey, what the fuck were you doing, later in the tea party.
Beatrice is like, I forgore. Yeah,
literally I forgore. So it's complicated on that front, and also let's not forget that this is, in the way that a story is a conversation between a writer and an author, this game is explicitly both in Beatrice's games and Battler's games now, is a conversation between the game master and the player, who in this case is Erika Ferrudo, self-proclaimed intellectual rapist.
Oh boy.
I think that maybe, we could say that Battler's fault, if if you even want to call it a fault, was trusting Erica too much, was trying to give her the benefit of the doubt that she could, through love, understand the thing that Battler was trying to tell her. And of course, she not only does she not understand it, she rejects the possibility of understanding it by tuning out during all of those things and saying, oh, well, this could just be a motive for murder.
Yeah, and that's supported by Battler giving her too much tape to work with to create...
the tape. Erica Ferrudo has packing tape.
Create detectives' closed rooms or whatever. Safe rooms, basically, sealed rooms.
Yeah.
Rooms, yeah.
So Erica, we should say specifically, Battler...
Oh, Erica.
We see these scenes of family members getting killed that are, of course, dressed up with magic, that we later learn, of course, those people didn't actually die at all. There wasn't even any red truth around their deaths, or very little red truths around their deaths. But what Erica does is she forsakes the detective proclamation in this game, because it allows her to do one very important thing, and that is perform a perfect body analysis, something she shirked. She just didn't do last episode because she got too cocky. So she does the ultimate way to make sure that someone is dead, and she re-kills all of the fake murder victims from the first Twilight. Even, they even say that, Maria was very nice and quiet while Erica was there killing Rosa in the same room.
I was actually surprised that she didn't elaborate and go, oh, and also I blew up the guest house with everyone in it.
Yeah, literally.
I put some small bombs in everyone's stomach.
You did. Small Bombs gets a shout out in this episode.
Yeah.
Very good. Love it.
Yeah.
But Erica in this episode is like, what if you hired CinemaSins as your sensitivity reader?
Yes.
Oh my god.
Right?
It doesn't make sense that these people love each other, because love is a fucking farce that you can't... Where's the red truth
Love
that
is
says
literally
that you
not
love
a
me?
red truth. Yeah. Oh god.
Oh, Battler, you forgot that there's tape on this door. So how did you get out of this room, Battler? There can be no plot holes in your story, Battler.
That's the saddest moment for me, is when they're having this conversation. Delanor is fucking Erica's servant, is having that conversation with her. She's going through her sad ass backstory about having shit ex-boyfriend who she couldn't trust, so she went insane and needed everything to be red truths. And Delanor's just walking through her breakup with her via blue and red truths.
as a game board,
where
right?
Delanor is doing blue truths as her ex-boyfriend, and
How would you counter my endgame?
Yeah, literally red truths of argument of how you cheated on me and fucked me over. And Delanor's just but you never denied the blue truths that said I loved you. You had no counter to saying that I loved you. And Erica's just it's worthless. I didn't have to counter because it's literally worth nothing. That's so fucking sad.
My take on that is that there is no red truth that her ex actually cheated on her, right? That she started looking for reasons and evidence of to
support her theory.
Yeah, she came up with a theory and she found literally anything to find as evidence, right? Which is exactly how she works as a detective. The idea of manipulating the things that she discovers and the things that she discusses as a reveal to fit her specific narrative. So this dude could have not cheated on her, and she just had a fucking nervous breakdown because she was absolutely convinced he did. And then that guy realized he was dating Erica Ferrudo and broke up with her.
Oh my god.
Oh god. Fulfilling the detective's role, right? Not as someone who the detective can be many things, but her role as the detective, not as someone who divines a hidden truth necessarily, but someone who imposes her own truth, literally an intellectual rapist, coercively presses that truth onto a reality that maybe that truth isn't actually what's real, but it's her truth, and that's what matters to her.
Yeah. She comes up with an answer and does literally everything in her power to make it true. No, fuck what everyone else says. And that's really interesting. Gotta say, this is the episode that made me Kind of regret all my Erica love mail in the last one.
I was wondering if that would come, if that horse would come to roost.
Holy shit, this is actually the most visceral.
Horse would come to roost?
It's called a joke, you plebeians.
Never heard a joke.
It's going on the list, Jenn.
Isabelle, you're from Horseland. Is that funny?
Yes.
Yay.
Where's
Horses do roost in Kentucky. It's very rare to see, but it does happen.
That means they're very happy, and you shouldn't disturb them.
Yeah. Is this horse happy? Yes, it is perched and preening.
This horse has no knowledge of Erica Ferude.
Yeah, so, like, the most viscerally uncomfortable I have felt reading Umineko so far, and I have the benefit of most of this being a reread so far, so, like, a lot of the episode 4 stuff was, like, stuff I was prepared
Yeah, this
for.
is kind of where that ends,
This
right?
was, like, holy shit, I did not enjoy reading Erica's wonderful and definitely consensual marriage to Battler that he loved and enjoyed every part
really
of.
fucked up,
It's
yeah.
really fucked.
It's like, it's truly, yeah, it's like I'm thinking at the end of this episode I need to go back and record a content warning for like explicit discussion of sexual assault, because like it is all through this episode. It's
oh my god,
it's
at
terrible.
the end most of all.
I mean, it's great. I mean, it's literature, like that's the thing. But I mean, like it succeeds at its job as literature of like making you viscerally uncomfortable.
It's
Again,
bone
voice
chilling,
actors
truly.
fucking holy shit. They really like Erica's voice actor goes ham in other scenes, has a great time, and also is extremely effective in this one. Definitely I probably would have been less affected by it if I didn't have the voice acting.
And I think it's the kind of thing that like it was easy in like episodes like in episode 2 to be like, Beatrice, girl boss queen, leading battler around on a chain, haha, woohoo. But you know, I think it is important to contextualize that in the context of this, in the context of like one of the greatest sins in all of When They Cry. This even goes back to Higurashi. It's implied in Higurashi that like sexual assault is one of, if not the absolute worst things that could ever be done to a human being. Like the stripping of agency in that way is the kind of thing that over and over again in Ryukishi's work is treated as like the thing that is above reproach. I think I'm using that term right.
Yeah.
But I guess what I'm trying to say is like thinking about Beatrice and that moment in the context of this moment, and how are those two things different and how are they similar? You know, Beatrice was the villain of episodes 1 and 2, and you know 3 and 4 we kind of understand more about her. Maybe a way to think about it is a line we get from Lambda Delta at the very end of this episode. How do you create a bully? First, you take someone who was bullied incredibly, and then you give them power.
Oh god, that line fucked me up. There were just a lot of lines that fucked me up in this episode, but that just hit.
Lambda Delta showed her hand a lot in this episode, and it was really interesting.
Yeah,
absolutely.
There's as somehow like coming back around as the more sympathetic, or the witch who is more willing to be on the side of the humans and the game board compared to Berncastle, who just wants to tear it all apart.
Yeah, closer to something like humanity.
Yeah. Which is interesting, considering that she is the manifestation of the villain of
Originally,
or something
sure.
like the villain of Higurashi. And one less evil, less like explicitly evil, but still fucked up moment of Erica's is when she fought Maria about
my
a
God.
like cheap magic trick.
That son of a bitch.
Erica's literally
Throwing
like
hands with a 10-year-old.
the most Ben Shapiro moment of all is her.
Oh my god.
Is her like coming to like text blows about a fucking parlor trick about sneaking candy under a cup.
It's like you could barely call it a
a
parlor
literal
trick.
grade schooler.
Pissed
She
me off.
pulled a quarter behind my ear. I know she did.
I was so fucking mad. Like the beginning of this was happening, and like there was like all the it like was talking about the marriage and stuff like that, and I was like, this is pretty uncomfortable. But like there was some dialogue at the beginning after all of that, which I was like, okay, maybe Erica is someone who can be like kind of, you know, I can kind of get along with the idea of being okay with her being a character, because like Delanor clearly sees something in her, and I respect her opinion. And then fucking she shows up and is just like, oh, by the way, Maria, you're a real stupid piece of shit. And I'm just like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
You thought the rabbit actually came out of the hat, you dumbass?
When I was in elementary school, I would volunteer at the preschool down the street from me because the only people I could best in physical feats were like literally 4 and 5-year-olds. And it made me feel good about myself. Anyway, that's Erica.
Yeah.
That is Erica. And like,
I was about to say, I'm pretty sure my 5-year-old could take you now.
Yeah, oh yeah, your 5-year-old could beat the shit out of me, I'm pretty sure.
Red truth. Gold truth.
Yeah, that's a gold truth. That's
You
me
like
fully
could
understanding the world.
Wreck Caelum.
Super quick sidebar. What the fuck were the gold truths in this episode? Did we get any?
There was exactly one.
There was one. And what was it?
There was one?
it was Chapter 7, Magic of a Different Interpretation. Chick Beato tries the cut magic trick. Could this be magic? Chick Beato says. Beato the Elder, as we're calling her, laughs and says, yes, it is. And then in gold, you used magic to create a golden flower petal inside an overturned cup. It was a splendid bit of magic.
How are you gonna introduce the golden truth and then make it totally meaningless?
That's not meaningless.
How do you mean?
There's no you.
Okay,
I'm sorry,
Anna.
I'm so.
Let's hear it, Great Witch Annabelle, champion of the magic side.
What? It's such a powerful and interesting narrative tool that is introduced at the very end of the last thing, and I don't expect there to be many of them, but when exactly one is used to slightly increase the definition of the thing, and then it's not used at all again, it becomes useless. If something isn't, it doesn't matter how powerful a tool is. If it is unused in a story, then it is by definition useless. What the fuck, Ryukishi? I wanted to know more about the golden truth.
You should follow Beatrice's own words. You don't use the red truths constantly.
I don't need it constantly. I needed 2. I needed 3. I needed Battler to use one of them. I needed
We do have 2 more
Beatrice
books.
to
We
use
do have 2
one
more
of
books.
them.
I just want to assuage you a little bit. We do have 2 more books to read.
I think Anna's at the same point I am, which is, I don't know what a gold truth fucking means. And that's really frustrating.
Like, I have a totally vague idea
We've
of
been
like.
trolled with the gold truths.
You know what? You know what? I know what gold truth is. Gold truth is when you are the person who is defining magic. A golden truth is not a red truth or a blue truth. It is a truth that defines what magic is, and you as the person who is creating magic gets to define what magic is. That's great. We know what it is, but could we please see it? Could we see some cool, fun magic defining tricks? Could we see magic start to exist? This is the one where
100%.
where Chick Beatrice begins to learn what magic is, and we got one of those benches. Are you kidding me? I feel like
it's like telling someone, here is what happens when something reaches enough temperature, it oxidizes. That causes it to ignite, and that will spread over everything. We go,
wow,
okay,
that sounds cool, and then they don't let you ignite it.
and you don't know what fire. Like, you hear what fire is, but if you don't know what fire is, you're not going to conceptually understand what it is.
Wow, isn't it fucked up that this is the last episode of Umineko and there are no more episodes ever, and this is the only golden truth we ever get?
So fucked up, and I'm so sad.
I understand your all's points up to this point, but like when that yellow truth showed up, it was like so powerful.
Yellow.
Yeah, the PP
It was like
truth.
such a powerful
Welcome to
moment
Yellow
to me.
Truth, the Numeneko podcast, the podcast
I
about
hate
Numeneko.
everyone
That's
here.
us.
When that golden truth happened, it was like such a powerful moment for me because I was like, I don't like the emotion of the moment and the fact that it culminated in that yellow golden truth. Shut up.
The piss-colored truth.
Stop.
Truth.
Stop.
I want ketchup and some yellow truth on my hot dog.
Oh my
Like,
God.
I understand
You put
the
mustard on
viewpoint
your hot
of
dog?
the
What the
golden
fuck's wrong
truth
with
should be
you?
used more, but like, and there are 2 more episodes.
It is
but
somewhat fitting that Izzy is the one who, maybe not mentally, but perhaps internally understands the golden truth, intuitively understands the golden truth. How wonderful that is for our little meta story we're weaving here in our podcast.
Oh God, yeah. I wonder what people think of our story when we're done with this. They're like, okay, we want another version of the podcast. We're gonna write RPF about golden truth so that it's fucking
God,
better.
please, if you're listening, please don't do that. Please don't do that. Please
Shit.
never, ever, ever do that,
Oh
ever.
shit, my son turns 6 next year. He's gonna be our age.
If you write it, you should link it to me and nobody else. My Twitter is Hivehum, HIVEHUM. My
I
DMs
refuse
are
to
open.
read. I will never, ever, ever
I will
see
laugh
this.
at you,
Fucking
though.
throw it into the sea and let the message bottle drift up somewhere the
Drift
fuck
up
else.
to me in my house.
All right. well,
we've
we've
been going for like 2 hours.
Yeah, we've been going for like 2-ish hours. Let's go ahead and take our break, and we'll come back and we'll talk about the lovers.
Oh God.
We're like halfway through our notes, I think.
We're like,
Listen, you get 3 twin mattresses, and that's Shannon, Cannon, and Beatrice. It all makes sense.
and we're back. Hi, everybody.
Oh shit.
Self-cess
I'm not in
real?
Welcome back to
blanket. Hold
Golden
on.
Truths and Umineka podcast.
I didn't say that. Okay, sorry, I'll stop it.
Before our quote-unquote break, we were finishing up talking about Erica, and now we can roll the clock back a little bit on this game and talk about the love trial. The central feature, really, of Battler's game is this love trial that is set up between Shannon and Cannon and George and Jessica, fighting together as their couples from episode 2, and eventually Chick Beatrice and Battler himself, the Game Master Battler, end up participating in this trial in like kind of a weird fourth wall sort of way. And this trial is run by Beato the Elder, the person who granted Shannon and Cannon the brooch that could give them the ability to become human back in episode 2, and also these 2 new characters, Zeppar and Furfur.
Oh, Caelum, are these your kins? Is this your kin?
No!
No, we have not yet reached Caelum's kin.
What the
That
fuck?
I believe Caelum's kin comes in episode 7. I
You
believe
can't-
that to be
okay.
yet forthcoming.
I can't believe that I have to spoil the fact that there are more characters in Umineko, because I have to very firmly establish that I do not kin Erica.
A lot of people are asking questions that my I do not kin Erica shirt already answers.
Oh, God.
Because there was a fucking note in Anna's part that was like, wait, Caelum, who do you kin? And I just assumed it was going to be Erica.
No, I'm asking you because you found out that you have a kin, and that's
been,
literally
yeah,
just
this
what
is
I'm
the
here
greatest
for.
mystery of our podcast.
I'm never getting out of this closet.
I'm sorry. Let's get out of the kin zone.
We'll figure it
I
out.
feel the metal chain around my neck as I try to open this door and leave.
What do you, what does everybody make of Zeppar and Furfur?
They're there.
They're hilarious.
This whole thing smacks of gender.
They're fucking special foreshadowing. Like, you have one more chance to figure this out, dummy characters who do a funny dance. I like that they're literally just spinning around and getting clapped at all the time. That's fun. They're just
here to have a great
voguing through
time.
episode 6, literally.
I truly love
Literally
that for them.
the funniest characters ever.
Here's a question I suppose I'll pose in a kind of vague-ish way, though I'm sure everyone will fucking know what I'm saying. So we learn about Cannon and Shannon and Beatrice and kind of that whole business, with Beatrice the Elder overseeing this and Zeppar and Furfur being the demons who grant love. Do you see them working into this kind of scheme in any particular way? Are they like just literary devices devised by Battler and or Hachijo? Are they like actually like manifestations of something? Do you think you even have enough information to like guess at that right now?
I thought they were just 2 funny little guys.
Yeah.
They're kind of two just, well, they're literally only one of them is a guy.
No,
Question
neither
mark.
of them are guys. They're opposite genders of each other, and that's it.
But that's okay. Caelum, I'm going to take you to task a little bit about
Okay.
one of the things you wrote in your in our little worksheet here. You said that they are do not have any biny, which I support on principle, but on the literal text of the book is that they are the opposite gender of each other, which is
Okay,
literally a
they are
binary.
They are.
But their biny isn't our biny.
Literally
Okay, they all
binary.
have our binding. I'm sorry, I'll edit the fucking worksheet.
I just wanted to like be specific because like the trans stuff, we're going to talk a lot about trans stuff here, and I want to be specific about the ways in which it shows up because that's important to me personally, of course, and also like because so much of it is so shrouded and coded, it can get away and you know, the fandom impulses are fun and cool, and also it is good to return to the text and see that they literally they literally have Biny. They do have Biny. They are only Biny.
I want to disagree. I want to protect Caelum. I'm not going to stay here very long. The wording on the
Wow.
tip says different gender, not opposite gender.
Oh, really? Well, okay, there you go. Yeah, one of
There we
them
go.
is a she-they, and one of them is a he-they. Never mind, I take it all back.
No, one of them is a they it, and the other one's an it they. It's very different.
Literally.
One of them is an if then.
You son of a bitch.
That's really good. Holy fuck.
They were only introduced in this episode. And while, like, every character that has been introduced in a previous episode has then come back in a later episode so far, I cannot imagine getting more use out of these characters in the future, except for a funny, like, hee there they are moment like the Chester sisters in this episode, who are just sort of wind up being
kind
there.
of.
Here's my pitch on Zephyr and Furfur. Yes, they are the demons of love. They are also the demons of indecision and choice making. So their whole thing is that you have to pick one.
Mm-hmm.
What does that sound like?
What does that sound like?
That happens in,
In
this
this episode.
episode.
Yeah, it does.
You think Battler's going to be an ex-wife guy in the next episode?
I think that's called a widower.
No, it's not.
No. All right. God. So let's get through these loves and love trials. One thing I want us to think about for each of these, which we are going to try and speedrun a little bit because we have to talk about Beatrice, is what are each of these loves? Like Battler and therefore Hachijo and therefore Ryukishi puts each of these loves in this story, in this order, in this way. So, like, what is the use of showing us each one of these loves, and what is the thing that the various authors of this tale are trying to show us and trying to get at? So, first we have George and Shannon.
It's safety.
Yeah, this is like a kind of a settling, right? Like a resigned relationship.
Mhm.
It's safety.
And one with a lot of like toxic shit, both simmering under the surface and also just kind of red flags that you've ignored because you can see having like a relatively stable life. Like this is a guy who is relatively
This is a guy
committed.
who comes in and tells you will be, he's fucking entirely ready to leave his rich family and become rich on his own in order to, like, be the perfect wife guy. One thing you cannot, George is incredibly committed.
There are only 2 W's I will ever give George. The one of them comes later, but the one now is that his relationship with Sayo is an actual, like, well, one, he's like legit, like super committed, but it's also interesting in the framing of like, this is someone who's had his entire life shaped before him, and his major act of rebellion is trying to marry the servant.
Yeah, marry out of his class.
Yeah, marry
totally.
out of his class to someone who is beneath him, air quotes. And like that itself, like in his relationship with Sayo, is like also kind of just a reflection of how Ava like forced him into a specific mold, that he sees a specific person in Shannon and wants her to be that, even if that's not who she is.
Yeah, there's there is a line, this was pointed out to me, I think during our spoiler episode for the gender with When We Cry back in the day. By back in the day, I mean a
Which
few
you
months
can
ago.
still watch on YouTube.
Which you can find on YouTube at When We Cry
Which
Pod.
means you're a freak, according to Jenn.
Hey, look, hey, they've got podcasts other place. I'm just saying. Is that there is a line earlier, I think somewhere in the question arcs, where George says, "Oh, Shannon, I didn't realize you were into mystery novels." Which, knowing what we know now about Shannon and Beatrice, I think is kind of key to understanding the flavor of George's relationship. And the reason that that Shannon and Sayo like buy into it is because it is so certain, after Battler, the idea of a marriage with someone who has literally changed his entire self to become the kind of person that you can love and rely on and have zero questions about your future with him. Yeah, it is stability. It is you could call it settling. I don't think you're wrong about that, but I think to look at it with love, I guess it is that complete and total surety. Although, that complete and total surety is somewhat tainted when one of the things that George talks about wanting is a whole bunch of children.
I want to put it this way. If you're someone who is struggling to figure what your identity is, it's nice to lean on someone who's very certain of who you are. And that's kind of George and Shannon's thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Matt, you put here, why does George win? Why does George keep winning? Which, like I said before, is not an inaccurate way of framing it, but I want to challenge you a little bit and say that I'm not sure that it is George Ushiramiya it's winning. I think it's Shannon that is winning in that thing. And George Ushiramiya ultimately in this story exists as an accessory to the character who actually matters, which is Shannon, and even more broadly, the person who is Shannon.
I understand what you are saying, and when I read your bit in the outline that said, is it accurate to say George wins? I was like, yeah, I guess it means Shannon wins, but also George wins, and he sucks, and he shouldn't win.
Yeah, he does suck. Well, guess what? He doesn't win because he dies in 1986 and is not alive in 1998, right?
Rip to him.
Yeah.
No one wins.
George's over party.
But the thing we could contrast against, the reason why Shannon comes out on top in the final trial against Canon is, I think just because, it's the thing that they keep repeating between themselves is that Shannon and George have had years to, mature their love and resolve their love and begin to, as Kyrie puts it, harvest that love, where Canon would not allow himself to engage on that. And, maybe if 3 years earlier, when we had that whole thing in episode 2, if that had come to fruition, maybe something could be different, but it wasn't. And so that is just kind of a way in which Umineko settles on, even inside of this fantasy, there's a lot in this love segment that is about material realities and horrible material realities. And how do you cope with that? How do you escape from that? How are you not escape from that? As we will continue to see. Jessica and Canon are in love in this. Canon confesses to Jessica in this story at the behest of Shannon and tells Jessica his real name, Yoshia, we learn. What can we say about Jessica and Canon's love?
Change. Potential.
It's those early few, first steps of a relationship. Everything is, the brightest and most intense, right? Shannon, there's boundless comparisons to make between Jessica and George in this. But I think part of why, dear God, I think Jessica and Canon is less weird, is that Jessica does see a specific person inside of Canon, but is interested in seeing his truest self rather than George, who's interested in seeing a person who is vaguely Shannon shaped.
Yes, George envisions the perfect Shannon, and Shannon is drawn to that vision of her perfect self. But yeah, Jessica, all the way back in episode 2 is oh, God, Canon, if you just created another self inside of you who was the self that you wanted to be and the self that you allowed you to be, maybe you could even be Canon more successfully. I want to meet that person. Don't you want to meet that person? When I'm at school, I'm a different person than I am at home, but both of those people together allow me to be me. And Canon is fucking screaming in his head during that entire
is the most repressed motherfucker in the room, yes.
Oh my God. And knowing that immediately after that conversation where Canon has a fit about it, Beatrice, quote unquote Beatrice, appears to quote unquote Canon, and Canon stomps the thing into the ground, and Beatrice berates him, and Canon says, "I won't fall for your tricks, Beatrice. I could never love." This is what I'm talking about. These are the things I've been sitting on for this entire podcast.
Everything I want to say about this has to do with the thing.
We can't.
We have not talked about.
We gotta talk about some other stuff before we get to.
Yeah. Jessica and Canon, totally is the brightness of the love that is. We can even see now here from where we are. We could even see Shannon falling for George as something of a consequence of the thing that happened with Battler. Where with Jessica, it's disconnected from that, right? It is truly a love that is comes from a place of newness, even Jessica said, "Oh wow, a boy servant, haha, you sure are," oh hi, blushing and stuff. wasn't it said that she said that to Canon on like, really early in Canon's tenure when he came to Rakenjima for the first time?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So like, yeah, there is, it's the newness, not just of like the literally they started loving each other recently, but also the newness, I think, of a love that is truly unconnected from your previous stuff. And if it had flourished, it could have flourished, beautifully. Canon even says, oh, if we had loved, we could have, I'm sure that we could have had a love that could have challenged George and Shannon.
Man, you just reminded me that fucking George only started dating Shannon because she was like, oh, Battler, you seem alright.
Yeah, I can't stand that
Literally.
fucking man.
Yeah, and George is like, oh, I grew past it, haha, but it's still like, yeah, that is still like in the background of their relationship.
Every
It's just-
time George, like, oh my god, Jen and I've had this argument, but like, I don't like George. I think that's evident by
What?
now. But like the reasons why I don't like George are like not me particularly reading into anything. Like, I'm not inventing subtext. I'm just kind of like taking his fucking word for it. I think the narrative presents what George says in like very like a lot more optimistic ways that I'm taking it. But like, yeah, like shit, like George saw Shannon be friendly with his cousin who was 13 years old at the time and was like, went full incel mode, and was like, I will become the person that this literal servant would want to marry. Like that this is his idea of love, and like that is fucked. Like, we'll get into the age gap, but even, ignoring the age gap, oh boy, they have a really unfortunate power imbalance that I think Umineko is aware of and is, acknowledging.
Yeah, I think it's aware of it, and also, how much do you think that power imbalance exists in 1986, where the Rakenjima killings take place, where Beatrice, the Golden Witch, is reviving herself, where Beatrice, the thing we learn in the earlier things is maybe that, Beatrice isn't trying to steal the gold. Beatrice already has full rights to the gold. Beatrice is already the family alchemist. Beatrice is the person who has the power. In terms of a power imbalance between Shannon and George, I wonder about that now in light of what we know. In what way does that power imbalance actually flow? And that's not to say that like George isn't an asshat who is like very like particular and says, here is the future, I am going to work towards that future, but to broaden our perspective out, because here we are with the truth of the matter, which is that this person who is Shannon, who is Canon, who is Beatrice, is... I think you're right in that Umineko absolutely understands there is a power imbalance there. And like not even like with what I'm saying, I think it understands that there is a power imbalance between George and Shannon. And I think it is, even if it never fully is explicit about it in the way I want, and even if it's never like interrogates it in the way that I think not only is it aware of it, but it is incredibly interested in complicating it now here.
So answering your question, I think whether or not that power imbalance still exists in 1986 is kind of like something that you personally bring to Umineko as a response, right? Like whether or not your opinion of a relationship that starts in kind of fucked circumstances, like for example, dating your aunt's fucking servant, whether or not something that starts on those terms remains fucked or toxic for 5 years later, when you've grown out of that early circumstance, like how much that colors that relationship. I think that's like kind of like your own personal like opinion, I guess.
I certainly think it continues to, like, do not get me wrong, I think that it sucks major.
I personally believe, like, as someone who reads the relationship subreddit all the time and does the math on people's ages, I think the relationship is terminally fucked. But I don't necessarily believe Umineko is written with that being the firm, final, ultimate standpoint, right?
Yeah, totally.
Let us all appreciate Jenn having to sit and be George's advocate.
I'm sorry that you have to be the George stan.
The thing I am only ever trying to be is to, in the way I kind of said about Maria in episode 4, is that agency is very important in Umineko, and to remember that the thing that every character has, and one of the things that is constantly reinforced is that every character creates their circumstance and continues to actively either buy into their circumstance or decide to change it, that there is an activeness to the ways in which people move through the world, that even if they feel like they are trapped, they choose to continue to be trapped, and that there is that choice and that consent and that person's desire is one of the constitutive elements of the world. So I do think that it is deeply fucked. But I also want to say that it is important to remember that Shannon, even just the persona Shannon, not even like the person who is Shannon, is a person with a lot of agency in her story, and is a person who makes choices and is a full human being with a maybe imperfect understanding of their circumstance, but only in the way that any person's understanding of their circumstances is imperfect.
This is the second nicest thing I will say about George in this episode. I no longer believe that Shannon is being coerced into marrying George. I think that is absolutely something that she's doing of her own agency, and that's a large part of the conflict of this episode.
Yeah, totally.
There is such a transgender reading.
Oh, it's so transgender.
Of this trial of Jessica and Cannon and George and Shannon, but we can't get into that.
Like a lot of the rotten interior of George is something that like Shannon wouldn't know as someone who can't read minds, right? Because it's a lot of his like, his POV, like his opinions internally. So like, she doesn't have the fullness of understanding of George that we do as readers, and so she's not being coerced. She is, accepting this engagement.
Yeah, and like George goes through his whole fucking like, oh, I was sad about it, and then I decided to be a good guy, and et cetera, like literally to her face. I believe that Shannon like knows all of that stuff. I mean, it truly, the ways in which I think George is a piece of shit are ways that kind of, I think are maybe, well, I don't think it's ways that the narrative doesn't know, but it's ways that you have to kind of read into and understand the implications of the narrative when this is a story where whenever someone encounters 10 pounds of gold, they go insane and like become a super murderer or whatever.
Like, that's also real life, but yeah.
yes. But like George's version of like his perfect life is him as like the top of the fucking capitalist food chain, right? Is like, his version of reality is I will confront reality, accept the horrible reality that I have, and then rise to the top of it. That's what it's been since episode fucking 1 when he said to Battler and Jessica, well, we just can't really do anything about Maria getting beat by her own mother. We just have to let that be. And there is something that is tempting and attractive about that to Shannon, to Shannon specifically, as someone who has loved someone else and now is awash, to have someone who is so sure about, I will find you the perfect place in this fucked up world, is incredibly attractive. But of course, I want to make it clear that I do not think that, I mean, between the three of them, I don't know if any of them would be the right choice for Sayo, but certainly not fucking George Ushiramiya.
We'll get into this, but oh boy, do your, at least me personally, like past relationships color one's reading of Umineko. And like when I was Sayo's age and I had someone tell me that they were someone who resolved to become a better person because of my presence, fucking toxic ass relationship, but I bought that shit full throated. So,
God, there's so much more to talk about.
Let's talk about a character that isn't Shannon or Cannon.
Maria.
Yeah.
Sadly, another episode goes by where Maria doesn't have much to do.
She won a fight against Ben Shapiro.
Yeah, Maria kind of had her arc in episode 4, and now she just kind of exists as the character that she is.
Yeah.
There's not too much more development to go on with her. But we still appreciate her every time she shows up.
We learned more about Rosa.
Oh boy, did we?
Did.
Rosa is extremely pathetic.
We already knew that.
Yeah, we already knew that, but yeah, we sure learned more about that.
Let's work through these in order, super quick, because we're at fucking, we are so... so deep into it right now.
Jenn is we shouldn't go for 5 hours, and knowing fully we will.
George, for his love trial, fights his mother, Ava. We kind of already talked about this. Caelum said, breaking from the thing you are raised to be.
Ava wants to suck him right back up there.
We get the return of Ava Beatrice here for a brief moment. The old fan favorite before Erica came and out Ava Beatrice.
Anyone like her?
I understand that she was more popular, like that she was enjoyed in episode 3. Like, that's kind of why she comes back in episode 4 and here in episode 6.
Well, she's also an important part of Ava's psyche, so it makes sense that she comes back here.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing Ryukishi is getting at here is there is a controlling love, a love that is fully about self-serving, and that a protective love can ultimately be a love that is actually about control and less about protection, which, we can perhaps read some resonances into George and Shannon, depending on how much credit you want to give George.
Can't spell mother without... Wait, the other way around. Can't spell smother without mother.
Can't spell mother without smother.
Yeah, this whole part is about what it's like to be a mom. It's just literally the 4 moms dying back to back. You've got fucking Eva.
Oh, wow, you're fucking totally right. I didn't even recognize that.
Hyper, helicopter mom, quote unquote, and how that ruins her in addition to her own character development that happened in 3, and how that ruins her kid, and how he overcomes that, quote unquote, by doing a stupid kick that doesn't kill her. We have Kyrie, who it's the pain of being a mother, the literal loss of being a stillborn, of having a man, stolen out from under you. It's obviously more complicated than that. Between her and Asumu and Rudolph, which is the whole thing, the feeling of pain and loss, and that the hatred and envy that breeds in you. When Jessica, it's a fight between Kyrie and Jessica magically that doesn't actually happen. When Jessica kills her, she's like, envy is nothing to be proud of. It's not something. It's a choice you make. It's not something you have to do. But there's a certain amount of sympathetic resonance in Kyrie's story, and that she suffered so hugely, and that her child, who was born at exactly the same time in exactly the same place, strange, as Asumu, was born dead, supposedly, and how that sort of made her crazy, and Angie's talking about that, so that's all very sad. We have Rosa, who fucking try, the desperation element of being a mother, where you're hoping being a mother will heal you, will fix the wounds in your life, and that doesn't follow through at all. Obviously, her mistakes, investing in a fucking shit-ass dude who was cheating on her and obviously going to leave her for no reason. The desperation of love, the desperation of holding on to something that's ruined, and then taking that out on your child. That's where Rose is at. Natsuhi, she's not even... We've already had Natsuhi characterization, but the bit where she's like, I'm not in touch with my family at all anymore, but I still have these Shinto roots. This is my family, who were my parents, and then my family, my child and husband now. These are my comfort. These are what I am living for. They were what I was living for then, and they're what I'm living for now, and being isolated from them on all sides, and that she can't connect with Jessica.
The way that she shows her love and support is by not interacting with them and being quiet and being out of the way and all of that stuff. Yeah.
So they really move through the 4 stages of why it sucks to be a mom.
Something that I think is also interesting in that framing is that this is Battler's game. He's constructing all of this, right? That, this is intimately twined with the murders. This kind of reads to me at least a little bit about processing stuff, if that makes sense.
Yes, I would agree.
That Battler is writing, well, one, this is about Beatrice's truth, which, oh boy, but also that it's, everything that we learn about the mothers are things that we already knew from previous episodes that we're expounding on, that for these characters, this is just them kind of talking and elaborating on already established
given a
traits.
Certain, if not fully sympathetic ear, then at least an honest hearing out of Rosa saying yeah, here's the shit circumstance I am in, and her just being completely upfront about that, and there's not a constant narrative going oh, but Rosa was wrong about this, or oh, but Kyrie that et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It truly is just these 4 just kind of bearing their hearts in a final way, and then
these characters monologuing
there is a response afterwards
about themselves.
It's a confessional, yeah.
Yeah. So I think
this is no longer a hint, but a confession from the episode 6.
I think, this entire game board is really fascinating from the perspective of this is Battler's story that he's making, and what that says about him in addition to what it says about every other character. I do really want to talk about Kyrie, though.
Let's hear it. Let's get the Kyrie beat.
So the thing that I have questions about is that Kyrie very repeatedly establishes that her hell is 18 years long. And so that's interesting to me because the obvious thing you would assume is that Rudolph had married someone else, but he'd only married someone else for 13 years? Oh my god, I can't count.
12. 12 before Asumu died.
So
yeah.
Asumu died, 6 years ago. So in that case, then it should be 12 years of hell. But no, she says 18. And it sounds like, in her monologues that it's a very recent thing that ended. So I don't think it's a case of like Asumu and Rudolph have been dating for 6 years or something. I don't have an answer for this. I'm just curious what the 18 years would be if it's not literally like that Asumu was married to Rudolph.
I'm not so sure either. I feel like it could... There are two kind of answers I could have here. One is that simply that Asumu and Rudolph were dating for 6 years before the pregnancy incident.
That's what I think.
The second could be that maybe there was some weirdness with getting Kyrie officially married to Rudolph for those 6 years that, Battler was gone from the island. I mean, because those 6 years have to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
They can come from either side of the 12 years. I guess I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, like Umineko is so
Angie
intentioned.
is 6 years old, right?
Yeah.
So there's a connection.
Yeah, because the reason why Battler is so pissed at his dad is that, his mom died and then his dad, immediately instantly remarried and had another kid. Like, that's the whole inciting incident for why he estranged himself from his family. And he literally didn't come back until his guardians had died. I feel like Umineko is such an intentional, carefully constructed story that there's got to be something here, right? Like, this is a story that has been so consistent and intentioned in its timelines, like that Cliff Rokenjima took out 2 people in the same year, and I doubt that's a coincidence, right? That it wouldn't just it feels like a cop-out to be like Rudolph and Asumu have been dating for 6 years, and that's why he's 18. But I don't know what it actually would be. But that's really stuck out for me all this entire time.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. I mean, it's certainly for the reasons you outlined. I don't think it's an oversight, but I'm also not entirely sure how to resolve it. And also, in terms of the timeline that we have, I'm not sure that gap would give us any particular wiggle room on either side, either in terms of thematics or the storytelling. That's part of the reason it's so confusing to me, is that, I don't know. I have no idea what to make of that. You're totally right. In terms of story, what happens next is Battler creates a locked room scenario where he is trapped in a room and is supposed to get out by having one of the fake murder victims come and rescue him. But then we get this great scene where it's, this picture of Kyrie and it says, Kyrie saved Battler. And then in red text, all capitals, Ushiromiya Kyrie cannot save Battler. And you begin to understand that, of course, Erika killed all of the fake murder victims, meaning Battler is in fact actually trapped in that room, and he has created a logic error, the greatest evil that the witch's side can commit, and he is locked in that room until he can find a way out. That disqualifies him and Chick Beato from the duel. Shannon and Cannon fight each other, and we begin to understand Beatrice, the Golden Witch.
Oh, God.
I have some stuff here about Chick Beato and Beato the Elder, but we kind of already know everything we need to. There's some interesting stuff in terms of the breakdown of specific parts of the Beatrice myth, where Beato the Elder is affected by the Akuji Kishima spirits magic, where spiderwebs hurt her, but they don't hurt Chick Beato. But that stuff is stuff that I will cryptically say will be more important in the future. For right now, let's talk about the duel between Shannon and Cannon, and let's talk about Shannon, and let's talk about Cannon, and let's talk about Beatrice, and let's talk about furniture, and let's talk about capital H humans. Someone want to start?
Whole class looks around at each other nervously.
Listen.
What do you think? Huh?
Who
am I?
The duel was initially left up to chance, and then the two of them, felt so desperate to win that it became a fucking top 10 anime battles.
So fucking good. God, everything from the duel here to the end of the episode. I said that episode 6 is kind of on the lower end of the episodes I like in terms of the actual story of the episodes. But in terms of the reveals and in terms of everything from here through to the end of episode 6, it's fucking awesome. This is the fucking shit. The music it hits, the reveals they hit, all the choreography and the fucking it's just I could gush. I could gush and gush and gush. It's so fucking good. This is it. This is Umineko.
Like finally a magic duel that means something, that isn't just like two people cackling at each other.
All the magic duels have meant something.
Virgilius literally
but in a
didn't,
direct,
but it was cool.
immediate way.
Two halves of a person fighting to be real, or even more so, 2/3 of a person fighting to be real. What does that mean for them? What are the lengths they're willing to go? The way Shannon and Canon talk to each other during this time.
The way they talk over each other, the way they say things at the same time. To me, you are just in the way now. God, so fucking good.
It's so.
That's me when I talk about my dead name.
Literally.
Well, hey, isn't that
wow,
fucking
this whole
funny?
weird
how that's a lot like that. Oh my god, this whole fucking thing is so transgender. Can we get into it?
The thing that we never are explicitly told, but the thing that we learn through the end of this episode, where Shannon and Canon must fight because their loves cannot coexist, from the way that Canon teaches Beatrice about what it means to be a witch.
It's Canon who teaches Beatrice.
The thing that we learn is that although Red Truth, Canon is not Shannon, Shannon is not Beatrice, Beatrice is not Canon, all of them are not each other in a specific way, in that there is someone. They are all part of... ?
They are the same person, yeah. Love that for them.
They are the same person. And that's the one of the things about this episode, is that it preserves that question mark, because we don't come out of this reveal thinking, oh, Shannon is everyone is Shannon, or everyone is Canon, or everyone is Beatrice.
It's not. They are all three facets of the same person.
Yeah, of this person, of this question mark, of this whole still at the center of the narrative.
This episode is about
who am I?
Understanding the fullness of one person, the entire shape of an individual. And who is that? We don't know. Not yet. Well, we do know them through the facets of them, but we don't know their name.
Yeah, we know so much about this person, actually, despite knowing nothing about them at all.
So what would you call them, like Sayoshigo?
Sayo and Yoshia, don't they have the same fucking kanji?
I told you that earlier. I think that was a fan misreading something or coming to something, but Sayo and Yoshia are very close in name.
Almost exactly the same.
A fan theory that I really like is that Canon came up with his real name on the spot right then and there. It was just like, oh fuck, wait, who am I?
What
who am
was
I?
my name after all? It's just all of this is so crazy. All of the fucking foreshadowing that led up to this point of Canon always disappearing, his corpse always disappearing mysteriously or not being around, and
Canon leading Jessica around while Jessica is blindfolded and can only hear his voice and feel his touch.
Shannon's body is in the shed, we are told, but we never actually see her body in the shed.
The only people looking at him at her are Hideyoshi and Canon. Yes,
with the exceptions of episode 5 and 6, Shannon and Canon are never in the same room at the same time as Battler.
Yeah, it was the detective. Even yes.
In fact, in episode 5, it is very, very, very explicitly stated that the person looking around the room and the person who sees that Shannon and Canon are both there is the peace battler, who is specifically not the detective in that episode.
Yeah. The one who's allowed to misinterpret things.
Yeah, who's allowed to have their own interpretations be heard. Yeah,
we don't know who the real person this person is yet, but I know they must be trans. It is such a transgender.
They better be.
It is
I will say between being Shannon and Canon and Zeppar and Furfur, I put my fucking poker hand down on the table. This is a transgender fucking story.
Yes, it truly is. They're going for it. I mean, what I wanted to say during the George and Shannon and Jessica and Canon part very quickly is that for two halves of a person who may not even either of them be the whole person, both of those relationships working for the reasons they do is such a transgender thing. George and Shannon is like, what if you were a a transgender woman, not yet transitioned, or in some uncertain position in your gender, in your safety, in your security as who you are or want to be, and a man's man, in all of the worst and dumbest ways, was like, I'll make such a woman out of you. We'll have 1,000 babies out of you, and you'll be my wife forever, and we'll build a man and woman empire, right? There's like the gender validation of that. And then for Jessica and Canon, it's like, what if you, as like a weird waifish femme boy, not even, you're a woman in your heart, but you don't know how to live through that. Like, what if someone came up to you? What if a girl could like you for that and be like, you're kind of a weird waifish freak of a boy, but like, that's cool, and I want to know what you're really like, and I want to know like who you are and why you're that way. It's like two different versions of being like a pre-transition trans person, trans woman specifically, because of the fucking Beatrice angle, where Canon's fucking real self, the real person that this person wants to embody and become, is a magical girl titty witch named Beatrice. This is the self that they embody and imagine,
Battler trans their gender.
Yeah, Battler just 6 years ago, the sin was transing the gender.
God.
And leaving her to deal with it. Yes, literally.
God.
Battler really is me.
Yeah, you do trans everyone's gender, Matt.
Literally, I am racking my fucking brain trying to think of a single friend of mine who hasn't trans their gender since I've known them.
Cackle,
I don't think you have any
no.
cis friends. You're the only one, I think.
Congratulations, Matt. You made it.
I made it off Rokenjima, and I learned nothing.
Yeah. I was cisgender before you met me like 12 years ago at an anime convention.
Yep.
A question I have about being furniture is, they're furniture because both of them are a persona. Shannon and Canon are both a persona devised by some logistical means we have no clue about yet, to like be a fake version of a person, to allow this whole thing to happen, to allow this scheme to be set up for means we don't even know. But they are literally fragments of a person. The reason they can't love is because they don't exist yet. So Georgian winning that, it's like, well, Shannon is the one that logistically is the most likely to exist, I guess.
Yeah,
But
to
then
our knowledge.
if they're furniture, then why Genji? Then what does that make Genji, who also
Holy
admits to being
shit, you were
furniture?
totally right.
And I
What
think he
does
was the
that
only
mean?
other one who verbally
Genji
admits
trans.
to that. Yeah, being furniture just means that you're trans and you don't really get to
God.
be
Genji is-
yourself or whatever. No,
Kenji
no.
is the trans elder.
Oh,
Genji
my-
filled that
I-
whole fucking house.
In the spirit of answer arcs, I will offer a hint, a fact that you can draw some conclusions from if you want. Remember the magic of this world. Remember that this is still, at the end of the day, even as Battler is the game master, remember that this is Beatrice's game board, and these are Beatrice's rules.
Also, Shannon's been there the longest. Shannon has been established to be working for the Yoshiro family for 10 years. Canon
10
has been
years,
there
yeah.
for 2 years. And we don't know how long Beatrice has existed, but we do know that she was not there, present for Battler's
Well,
Sin.
we know that for Battler, no person called Beatrice existed 6 years
Yes.
ago. I believe is the red truth.
I guess in that respect, Shannon won because she's been there the longest.
I mean, it's the thing, like I said, the material realities of the love is like what all of these love trials are about. And the thing that we know about Shannon is that like not only has she been around the longest as like a portion of this person, of the culprit, I guess we could call them, but as, she and George have had the longest time to become resolved in their love and to become mature in their love in a way that Jessica and Canon didn't, and in a way that maybe if Battler hadn't gotten locked in that thing and Beatrice was able to revive earlier, maybe they would have won out. Like, we can't say for certain. But the
Fucking Erica.
I do want to just keep going back to the fact that
If my husband stopped stepping on rakes long enough, we would have won.
love is not just a beautiful feeling. That is the thing that this fucking episode is about. Love isn't something that you can just do. Love is a thing you have to commit to. It is a reality that you create over and over and over again. Love is a thing that can hurt you and trap you for 18 years, building up the resolve to murder someone. That can leave you, 9 years into a fucking unmarriage, saddled with this unbearable debt and this child who you can't see as anything but a manifestation of your failure that you remain committed to because you can't wuss out on the love. That love is the thing that creates and fucking destroys and is the single fucking element of this world. So the reason Shannon, or a reason maybe that we could construct now that we know that Shannon is the one who, in this episode, I'll remind everyone, not ultimately, but just in episode 6, the one who won out, is because that material reality, because that truth is in fact stronger than Canon and Jessica's, which is new and fresh and green and springy in that way, but is untested and unknown, and for someone like Shannon, who we know who is resolved in her love for George, Canon, who we know has not allowed himself to love because he believes that he's not allowed to love. Putting those two pieces together, literally putting those two pieces together to try and understand the person behind both of them, we can start to create a picture of why Shannon might have won out in this particular instance.
Yeah, but we don't have to like it.
No, we don't. Fuck, it ain't about the George one. Fuck that guy. I only care about George Ushiramiya as an accessory to the actual main character of Umineko, who is Bia fucking Triss.
Oh yeah, I forgot. I have to say the nicest thing I ever will say about George, which is good for him for not getting engaged to a 16-year-old.
Yeah, literally the true age of the master of this island. I don't remember what it was, but yeah, 19. It is 19.
So
says it right there.
Literally, George looking at a countdown clock, gonna be illegal any minute.
I mean, yeah, this does not absolve George in any way because he still thinks she's 16.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Oh God, you're right. Oh no.
Your red truth has killed Caelum.
No!
So maybe you can give us, the readers, a slight bit of comfort, but George Ushiramiya does not absolve himself in any way.
I can't get out of my recording room until I figure my way out of this logic error.
Literally.
What about Beatrice? So what? My other big question that's still looming is, what does this mean about Beatrice? Is Beatrice the person we know from the funny letters from a funky witch, whatever it was called, thing?
That's so good. Yeah, I remember those.
When I realized correctly that Beatrice was trans, that
can I take this one?
Person is, yeah, totally.
Beatrice existed in a weird way before Shannon reached the island. I do believe that Kinzo is the reason that Beatrice exists on this island whatsoever. There was someone named Beatrice who Kinzo knew, and I don't know if Beatrice had a form for Sayo or Shannon or whoever it was at the time until they saw that portrait. They knew that was the kind of person that Battler was interested in. They wanted to look like that, but I don't know if they fully formed as a person until that happened. Beatrice was blamed for things before that portrait as well, but it really started picking up after that, where it became just as they were saying in episode 5, I think, hey, isn't it a little weird how all these old island... Oh, that was this episode. How all these old island things affect Beatrice? Well, it's because the legend of Beatrice is an extension of that. All the things that were blamed on that were passed on to Beatrice, the one that Kinzo's moaning about in his office at the top of his lungs.
Yeah, I have a question.
Uh-huh.
The portrait was put up 1.5 years before this conference, right?
Yeah, It was in sometime in 19... I feel like we actually narrowed this down in an earlier episode. Wasn't it April of 84 it went up or something?
Kinzo has been dead for 2 family conferences. Did Kinzo actually commission that portrait?
Well, there's a second portrait as well in Kinzo's office. We don't know how old that one is.
Yeah, it is interesting that the person that we meet looks explicitly like that. And in fact, the Beatrice of before the game board, the one who gave Shannon and Canon the brooch, also looks like a version of that. Not exactly that Beatrice, but she does have literally the same face, the same golden hair. But she's wearing the school.
I think maybe it wasn't Kinzo who commissioned the portrait because she was probably dead.
Yes, this is it. We have to get into this. Yes, you people have to talk about your truths.
Kinzo,
go.
Kinzo's dead the whole time.
Kinzo's dead the whole time.
Natsuhi, it's been revealed that Natsuhi and Kraus, and by their order, the servants are helping to weaken Bernie's Kinzo effectively.
Oh my god, my brain's expanding as we speak. Okay, keep talking.
It sure is.
I think what happens is that the individual, the 17th person,
the culprit. Let's call them the culprit.
The culprit was like, "Hey, I'm here. I can come up with some sick I'm gonna come up with my sick OC, and this OC will help us keep Kinzo's life
Oh,
going,
really?
quote
Huh.
unquote.
Yeah, if you have this kind of very visible evidence of father patriarch of the Ushiro family truly going off his fucking rocker and spending his money in irresponsible ways, let's commission this huge painting of his Beatrice, this person that he won't shut up about. And wow, this servant has some very good ideas on how this person should look like in the portrait. And let's make a smaller one and put it in a study, for plausible deniability.
Now, the Beatrice portrait is actually made out of food. Goda made it.
I do want to
it smells like McDonald's.
make the timeline explicit here. I'm mostly certain that the portrait was put up before the conference of 1984 when Kinzo was still alive. We know that Kinzo died sometime in between the conference of 84 and 85.
Yes. I think, for me, the story that I've constructed, because, like I was saying, this person, whoever Shannon Canon Beatrice is, really created a world of magic, right? This was beyond just a plot device. It was a plot device, but it was beyond that, right? They constructed a version of magic, a world of magic in their heads, so real and intense that, like, Lambda Delta acknowledged it or whatever. And that's all meta stuff, but nonetheless, that happened, right? Whoever this person was truly envisioned and believed in magic, and at that time that this conversation happened with Lambda Delta and the funny letters was, in their own mind, someone called Beatrice. What happened was they took advantage of this person named Kinzo in some fucked up, scary, bad ways, and, like, played the part of Beatrice, of this beautiful golden witch, which led Kinzo to do this thing, to believe in this thing called the Demon's Game before he died, to bring this portrait back before this person died. Like, this person, whoever they were, played the part of Beatrice, who they had reconstructed to be a beautiful and powerful witch, based slightly on the stories they had heard, and then mostly on their own concepts and plans, to be this beautiful blonde bitch with boobies, and Kinzo being an old, already crazy man doing all sorts of things established beforehand.
Was like, hell yeah.
Was like, oh shit, yeah, Beatrice really did come back for a second, and she only appeared to him once and told him all this, and so he commissioned this portrait of this beautiful vision of her that he saw that may or may not have been the original Splatatrice from the cliffs.
Splatatrice.
But nonetheless was the person that they saw, was the person that Kinzo saw. So Kinzo commissioned those himself, set up this whole thing himself, but it was this person's concept. And my question is Beatrice just a means to an end for this person? Or is Beatrice truly their ideal of who they want to be, slightly colored by, Battler and their infatuation with Battler?
So 1, Kinzo's dementia. 2, I think Beatrice exists for the same reason that Shannon and Canon do, that these facets of the culprit are all existent in the frame of the person that their life revolves around, right? And in Beatrice's case, it's Battler.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Like Chick Beatrice says, she was born for Battler's sake. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's the Chick Beatrice, the elder Beatrice. I mean, we see this happen at the end of the lovers' duel. Chick Beatrice begins to fade away and says, "Why was I born to love Battler? I don't know why I love Battler. I only know that I was given this love by my mother." And we see, through text, we don't actually see any images, but through text, we hear this person say, "Now, Beatrice, I am going to give you my love for Battler because I can no longer hold it. Because of this, I will no longer be you. You will no longer be me. We will split apart two souls and share it."
And I think that was the result of the duel, right? That, it is this person, split apart in 3 directions, ultimately chooses to be Shannon and be with George. And this is her putting those feelings towards Battler into Beatrice.
I think that Chick Beatrice was given those feelings before. I think that is literally the reason that Chick Beatrice, who is a manifestation of the game board of 1984, who exists on the game board, not after the game board, but on it, is that she was given Battler's love. She was given the love for the love for Battler that this person had.
Well, there's one other thing that she's given though,
huge tits.
which is, well, That's two
take
things.
the hair that he likes, take the body that he likes. Yeah.
But there's one other important thing that she is given, and that is a certain will. That is like why Lambda Delta did everything was because Beatrice had a certain will.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
Yeah,
God.
I would. Maybe we should go back to memoirs at some point and remember. What was it? She is already a witch. She wanted to become a witch. That was her certain will, was to become a witch, which, not just a witch in like a magical sense, but I think we can also begin to understand that in the way of, like we talked about, witches as they exist and when they cry as people who play with humans' lives. I'm going to become a witch. I am already a witch. I only need you to acknowledge me. And even if you don't, I am already a witch. Yeah, I will call us back to one of the earliest things we hear about Beatrice, which is Maria, ever lovable Maria. Beatrice exists. Beatrice is real. Maria meets with Beatrice in that rose garden.
Oh my God,
every
I used to think it was Rosa,
game.
but it's fucking whoever this person was would dress up as Beatrice on the island and fucking write in her journal
Rosa
and teach her
met
fucking
Beatrice
music.
and watched her
Music
perform magic, remember,
Oh
in
my
episode
God,
2?
The magic.
Shout outs to Rosa being fooled by like street magic.
Fooled?
Sorry, drawn into the witch's world
There we go.
I wonder if
via street magic.
Street magic is real magic.
are people who see magic always fooled by it, or are they agreeing that magic happened? Remember,
That's literally part of this
Yeah.
episode. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So when in previous games, when we see Rosa watch Beatrice appear, and she watches her toss the broken candy up into the air, and the butterflies swarm around it, and it comes back as fixed. Do you think she's being fooled by a light show, or is there's something else going on there? There's some other relationship that she has to Beatrice in that moment.
She I don't know about their relationship.
Remember
but
that Rosa survives all the way to the end of the game.
she sees that this person has come out here to help her
Oh.
daughter feel better, and was like, I'm gonna go along with this one.
Rose is working with Beatrice on this one.
Yeah, Rosa Culprit is still looms large in my mind. But beyond that, I think pushing that
Remember
aside...
that in Game 3, Ava survives all the way to the end of the game and is furiously writing those numbers down at the very end after she is bequeathed the witchdom by Beatrice by solving the riddle and finding the gold.
Oh my God, the numbers.
The numbers.
I forget what those numbers are.
It is 10251129.
Oh yeah, one of those is Battler's
Homestuck.
birthday, right?
Zero. I'm sorry, I said a Homestuck number. Fuck me, kill me right now, kill me right now, kill me right now.
Guilty,
It's
die the death.
07151129.
I wasn't even paying attention. I don't know what you said.
Don't worry about it. 07151129 are the actual numbers. That's those numbers.
04206969.
We know that 0715 is in fact Battler's birthday, July.
Why did
15th.
someone write 42069 in blood on this wall? What could it mean?
Scary?
So
Rosa
I'm not saying
Did
we need
not
to go
n-
back and solve all those episodes.
No,
I'm
but
just pointing something out.
Rosa was always getting down on Maria about magic. One of my early theories was Rosa was the person because she was the only person who could have written that down. But she despised it. She knew about it, the whole journal and all of it. She would read it all the time because that's her daughter, and she hated it. She hated it. She hated it. So then to finally see this person who fits the description of Beatrice exactly, who performs something like magic, even if it's a basic sleight of hand trick, I mean, of course Rosa would believe in that.
look at my thumb, it's not connected, Rosa.
And Rosa's just so fucking flabbergasted to see a big breasty blonde lady who cackles and says marriage sorciere or whatever that she falls over backwards and is like,
I wonder if what are the ways that magic can exist?
If everybody agrees that magic exists, it can exist.
Yeah, which does that necessitate a trick?
No.
There
It
was no trick.
necessitates an alibi.
Rosa
It
and culprit.
necessitates agreement. It necessitates consent. It necessitates creating that world between you two,
God.
agreeing to a story.
I theorized a while ago that maybe every episode is what if Beatrice teamed up with a different sibling. And I still don't know if that really plays out. Like, I think I was theorizing, like, what if episode 1 was actually her teaming up with Kraus and Kyrie and, no, not Kraus, with, Hideyoshi, no, it wouldn't be Ava, because we already had Ava's episode. It would have been, Rudolph and Kyrie. And that's what that episode really was. And then things kind of spiraled out of control because Beatrice, as canon, died in the basement. and that kind of spun things even more out of control because of, I don't know why.
No, Canon didn't
Who
die.
were the people who examined Kanon's corpse?
Yeah, literally. Fucking Kumasawa, was it?
It was Kumasawa and Nanjo rush Kanon off to the...
Yeah, Nanjo will lie about anything all the time. And
Nanjo's all about that malpractice.
Kumasawa is literally Virgilia.
Nanjo's not even a doctor.
What did Battler see in that instance? He saw a pool of blood and Kanon clutching his chest and, moaning and screaming, and then...
And then he pulled it out.
Yeah. He saw something clatter to the floor.
Something that was never actually in there.
Or it was.
So what you're
and then it was
suggesting-
a fake wound or whatever. There's a million explanations. I mean, that episode 1 is so full of holes, it's ridiculous.
There's not a single hole.
All I am saying is that the way that we, as the audience, learn about Kanon's actual death is Battler says, "I heard later that Kanon died."
But
That's
I
pretty
can't
bad.
believe Kanon died before he got to see Nanjo grind his own face off and then Genji's face.
Hey guys, we don't have to bring this up again.
Oh no, it's a good one.
I don't want to get too trapped up in talking about closed rooms because there will be time for that in later episodes.
I want that too. But if Beatrice is working with a different mom in every episode, even the ones that are questionably real in terms of meta shit, whatever, we don't have time for all that. Like, why would she do that? If her goal was not the gold, her goal was not
I've
the
got it.
kill.
Wait, were you arguing that one of the moms isn't real?
No, the episodes aren't
Oh.
real.
The
Oh my
episodes
God,
are real.
I thought
the
you were gonna
episodes
go
are, the
for, like-
episodes are funny forgeries.
Have you ever actually seen Kyrie?
Natsui isn't yeah, literally Kyrie fucking fake
And-
moments. Happy.
I can't say everything, but what if it is basically just all of these messages and bottles are literally just the culprit going, well, if I teamed up with this one, maybe this is how it'd play out. So let me try to weigh my options here and figure out how it works with everyone.
But why would she team up with any of them at all? If her goal, if her selfhood, if the selfhood of Beatrice, of this culprit, is constructed around loving Battler, is that also, again, this is part of my same question. Is Battler just a means to an end? Is Beatrice just a mean to an end? I could understand this person killing to get Battler's attention in episode 4. That one makes by far the most sense to me. But having Rosa be like the last person alive, why would you help Rosa steal gold and try to escape and then fail and die or whatever? Just to torment her more for what she did to Maria? Maybe that's kind of sick. That's a sick option. But then episode 3, Eva, why would you let Eva live and kill
I want to
fucking
say just really quickly, one of the first things we fucking learn about Beatrice in the hidden tea party of episode 1 is that Beatrice rolls the dice, but she never shows the dice, and you never see what the result of the dice is, but she is always satisfied. And yeah, why is that? Why is she so fickle about that? Why, if she is made to love Battler and she has like been sabotaging herself through these games? Yeah, that's a very good question, Anna.
What the fuck is going on?
So, circling back to our argument that, like, the culprit, like, strongly influenced the portraits of Beatrice and, like, just the general image of Beatrice. If that is something that happened, then that really says a lot about that person, right? That they are willing to take advantage and manipulate people in a lot of contexts to get what they want. So, that is someone who's willing to, like, get Rosa in on a conspiracy to, murder everyone to get the gold for herself, and then, the culprit then kills Rosa because this is just a means to an end. So, like, that's a relatively within the realm of, it feels like something that could happen, right? If one of these facts is true, then the other one feels pretty likely. Like, that feels like something within the character of that piece.
There are two halves to Beatrice's heart. We learn about the last half in this episode. That the trick that Beatrice eventually pulls to save Battler from the locked room. Kanon does not exist inside of the closet. That is half of her heart. This thing that we're talking about right now is half of her heart. There's another half of her heart that she revealed at the end of episode 4. I am here, I am not you. And here now at the, in quotes, this isn't actually part of the red text, but here now at the end of the second day, I will kill you. I, Beatrice, will kill you. Who am I? And so we now know about this second half, but their first half is something that is still kind of up in the air.
I'm still lost about it. I'm still totally lost about it.
Let's reel in our Beatrice talk really quickly
Impossible.
to talk about the actual end of the episode really quickly. Maybe this can just lead us into further Beatrice talk. So Beatrice fucking resurrects, quote unquote resurrects, and presents Erica with a more perfect closed room to solve Battler's logic error. And the closed room is that Battler was saved. There's stuff here with like in the guest house, all of the alive people are shut up in 2 rooms, and there's some stuff about Cannon was in one room and Shannon is in another, and there's no way that Cannon could have possibly escaped from his room, and yet here he is saving Battler. There's some stuff around that, but the main thing is that Cannon comes into the room to save Battler, and when Erica inspects the room afterwards, Cannon is not there because Cannon does not exist in the bedroom, which is so fucking good. It's the perfect trick. It's the perfect Umineko trick. It's an Umineko trick that could only happen right here in this context.
Erica has one truth about gender and is too stupid to realize it.
Yeah, I guess you could extrapolate it out like that. I think
It's true.
I love this trick. This is one of the things that made me like finally deeply fall back in love with Umineko, was the idea of this fucking, because it's nonsense, because it's fucking nonsense, because if this was in any other game, in any other circumstance, Erica would open the door and like the witch's tale would end and everything would fucking stop and it's over. And that kind of happens here, but like the fucking perfect final move, the thing that ends it all, that Beatrice wins with, Cannon is not in the closet. Of course he's not in the closet. You just, like, in your head, Fannin killed him off. And, like, now there's a body in the closet, but it's not fucking Cannon. And it's just so good. It's just so stupid and, like, childish and, like, simple and obvious. And, of course, like, the ultimate closed room is a fucking wordplay trick.
Mm-hmm.
That saves the day. That, like, the ultimate magic is a, like, bit of childish fucking fun.
Cannon walks in and transes his gender to escape.
He doesn't exist. Cannon is no longer in that room for the same reason that Cannon's corpse is not in the locked room in episode 2, because Beatrice disappeared his corpse with magic.
I love the reveal in this moment, and the reason it's the last closed room ever is because by using that trick to support Battler, like on the witch's side, using that red truth to deny Erica, it could never be used by the witches again. You could never use that trick in anything again, and it's the trick that explains the whole fucking series. It's the trick they used over and over, and like it's the final reveal. It's like the final truth in that episode. So if you hadn't realized it up to that point, that's them finally tipping their hand about it.
When does 18 plus 1 not equal 19?
Literally.
When it equals 17.
That only makes 17 humans.
That was your question, Matt.
Yep.
We found it out.
I can't believe it. I'm so proud of, like, I didn't get the trick and Annabelle laughed at me, so I had to think about it more, and then I got it and I was like, oh
Yeah.
my god.
Matt.
Yeah, you had on the topic worksheet that Cannon went in with someone else, and I was like, well, I guess you're not incorrect, but...
I'm sorry, I should have held my tongue so I could roast you live, but
yeah,
I'm much happier with the outcome that you understood and you saw the magic, because it is so good. The trick through the whole thing is that one of these people doesn't fucking exist. It's so stupid, and it's the thing that drives the whole series.
It's a trick.
It's a trick that trans people will understand immediately.
Yeah.
Those without love cannot be... Yeah.
Matler couldn't get it.
Shut up.
And that's the end of that tale,
Useless. It's all useless.
The Tea Party fucking, like, Battler and Beatrice give everyone, like, their ability to love in the Golden Land, of course, because in the Golden Land, all loves will be fulfilled.
And everyone will be resurrected.
Yeah, everyone will be resurrected, all of the lost loves. And in the Question Mark Tea Party, Featherine and Berncastle cackle together as they prepare to, quote-unquote, reveal the answers.
Horrible.
Yeah, so Izzy, here we are at the very heart of this tale. You had something on the worksheet that I wanted to say here, which I think is literally the place you are intended to be right now. Do we keep going?
I don't want to read the next episode. My stance on all of this has changed so much since episode 1.
Oh, yeah.
This point,
It's great. You are truly just the wildest vacillations of anyone on this podcast, and it's so good.
At this point, like, at first I was literally before episode 5, I just kept constantly going, I need to figure out literally what's happening. And now episode 5 and 6 happen, and I'm like, oh, all of that's dumb and bullshit. I shouldn't have been thinking about that the entire time. I need to be happy with the thematic reading and all of this stuff that's happening. And then these fuckers are like, but I want the answer. And I'm like, I just taught myself not to want that. Why don't you just fuck yourself?
Something I will say that will maybe assuage you a little bit is that, going back to this, that Beatrice could have won that game at any point, but she didn't, because the thing that she wanted wasn't to win the game. I think we can say with some amount of confidence now that the thing she wanted was for Battler to understand, was for Battler to reach that truth. So even as we go through, as the villains raise their hand to begin their final slash, there is still something of, like, you know, to remain within the fiction. There is something to honoring Beatrice in, you know, I guess a way to put it is finally laying her fully to rest.
Can I poke you one more time about something that we have not seen from Higurashi?
Totally.
That we have seen in Higurashi but not seen here. I don't know if it will come up, but there's always the possibility of it. But something that happened that made the golden route in Higurashi happen, what Lambda Delta called an illegal move, where all the pieces started on her side of the board and she had no room to maneuver. What ended up happening was the memories of the people between the fragments carried over. After an inciting incident, the people remembered and moved forward with that knowledge so they could avoid basically falling into depression and becoming homicidal due to brainworms.
Even Hanyu, the god, you know, someone we could call the player of that game, literally intervenes and intercepts a bullet at the very end. Something that, like, is akin to, like, you know, meta battler coming down and telling everyone, hey, you know, there's a, like, you know, using some of his meta knowledge on the board or whatever. Like, yeah, that kind of illegal move.
Yeah, and I don't know if that sort of thing will come up again in Umineko, but considering everything else has, that might be something interesting to see happen, would be if these people from these fragments move forward and we learn more about them, and they have a bit more agency in how they act as a result.
Yeah, what I can say in a vague, witchly sort of way, is that Higurashi remained attached to the game board all the way to the very end. The game board was the reality that you cared about. For Umineko, the game board, we have pulled fairly far out from the game board at this point. And of course, the game board, the next game board we're going to see is going to be Burncastles. So
a bad one.
So I do wonder how Umineko will or won't carry that forward from Higurashi. One thing it didn't is that, I mean, I don't think this is some great spoiler to say this, but neither episode 5 nor episode 6 are direct answers to any of the previous arcs, which was in Higurashi. Each of the answer arcs, or most of the answer arcs, were directly like, here is the solution to this previous question arc. And that's just simply not the case here. Like none of the stuff we've seen lines up close enough for that to be real. So yeah, I do wonder how all of this stuff will shake out.
You know the answer.
I do know the answer. Smile, heart.
Why?
Well, damn. We sure have talked a good fucking deal. Does anyone, we still have a little bit of time left. Does anyone have any kind of popcorn thoughts or something they still want to talk about, or some question they have that wasn't fully answered or anything? I am here as, you know, this is like episode 5. This is one of the final times where you will have these mysteries. So I'm more than happy to play them or just give you answers or do whatever.
Saying one of the final times, like there aren't 2 episodes left.
One of the final times.
Wow, it's almost like there might be two more times.
We're gonna get episodes. We are gonna get episodes. We're gonna get answers, though. We're gonna get actual fucking real world ass. Here's what fucking happened in Kinzo's past that made him an evil freak.
I don't think we'll ever get those, which is fine.
We have to, because if we get to the end of episode 8 and we don't, I'm gonna spend the whole time screaming and howling.
Well, that'll be your 1,000 years.
Can I talk about the manga?
Oh, no.
Do you think it'll be a problem?
What specifically?
Oh, talk about why people like the manga more than the episodes.
Oh, yeah. Only talk specifics up through episode 6. But, yeah.
So my understanding of the fan reception of Umineko is that a fair amount of people prefer the manga more because it makes things more explicit than the visual novels do. So that makes me think that we may not get direct answers to many things for the last 2 episodes.
There is a lot of controversy surrounding Umineko, especially among, there was at the time when Western fans got their hands on it, but even to this day, reception to Umineko, as far as I understand it, as someone who is not actually in this sphere, reception to Umineko in Japan remains to this day strongly mixed, with a negative side being kind of the one that seems to win out, generally speaking. And there are some reasons for that we can guess at, but one of them that we might consider, especially that we know of in episodes 5 and 6, is that Umineko is interested in giving you the ability to reach answers instead of giving you answers.
Yeah, I definitely...
Feathering kind of lays that out.
Yeah, I definitely kind of feel like people who have negative opinions about the end of Umineko are people that don't really... Hachijo Voice did not really engage with the text in the way Ryukishi desired.
Yeah, there's a lot of cultural things there. It's something that we can get into, especially as we get into episode 8 and, a couple of wrap-up episodes past that to kind of reflect on everything we've seen. But that's something that's really fascinated me, considering how positive of a reaction I had to Umineko. So I look forward to exploring that.
Yeah.
I do have one quick question before we wrap up here. I have a question for all of my... I want to
mention my favorite Ryukishi quote that is almost certainly a mistranslation. Umineko is a story that cannot be understood or read by someone who has never been in a relationship. Fucking Chad moment. I wish he really said that.
Why don't you go Umineko no Nakukoro ni some bitches canon?
But I believe that fully. Like, so much of my opinions and analysis of Umineko are colored by the relationships I've had in my adult life, the people I've dated and the friends I've had. So if you're a virgin, you won't get Umineko. I agree.
Oh, we can't forget about this. This is super important. I can't believe this wasn't on the topic list. Caelum was right about Sakutaro.
I was right about Sakutaro!
Caelum was right about Sakutaro. Yeah. I guess I was putting a little bit too much faith in where the Red Truth cut off. Yeah, he's totally just a mass-produced thing. That
fuck
Maria
you, Jenn.
To be. Yeah,
diplomatic immunity, motherfucker. I'm fluffy, and if I say I'm custom-made, I am.
I'm literally using Reflect. I'm bouncing this back onto everyone right now. I have a question for everyone.
Okay.
I have a question about your apprehension of the truth. Who is the culprit?
They are a servant of the Yoshiromiya household who is 19 years old and has strong feelings for both George, Jessica, man, whoa, that'd be wild if it was Shannon, George, Jessica, and Battler, and who feels very torn about those things, but resolves to take out the entire Yoshiromiya family and will go. Good for her. Good for them.
Right.
They're a girl.
Yeah.
One of Nox's Decalogue. Let me pull up the exact one here real quick.
No character will be introduced who hasn't been introduced before.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, fuck. Shannon and Cannon and Beatrice
Jesus
have been
Christ.
here since
the criminal must be someone mentioned in the early part of the story, but must not be anyone whose thoughts the reader has been allowed to follow.
We have
it's
two
Lunon.
options. They're very bad.
Okay.
There's Lunon, whoever the fuck that is. Okay, there's 3.
Lunon was mentioned in episode 2. Okay. Next question.
There's fuck. That's okay.
The boat driver.
No, there's the dead 19-year-old Cliff baby who isn't dead and actually is on the island at all times. Actually is this person that Natsui recognizes that no one else would have known about, and that was something. Or it's fucking Asumu's baby and the fucking baby stillborn funny baby switch, and Battler was Asumu's baby.
I don't
Battler
like that
was
one.
Kirie's baby and was given to us. This is all
Hold
bad,
on.
right? These are all bad answers.
Hold on. It's worse than you think.
Uh-oh.
Ow.
So, Caelum mentioned earlier that I pointed out that, hey, kind of weird that Servant with Baby went over a cliff the same year that Rosa also pushed Beatrice off a cliff.
Why would Rosa? Never mind, go on.
Fuck Rosa, that's why.
Where's the socks?
Anyway.
That's why.
Anyway, and there is a distinct potential that we are at a situation where we know that Battler is Kinzo's grandson, and there is a very distinct possibility that Beatrice, as we knew her from Kuwadorian, was holding that baby when she went over for one reason or another. I know you guys hate when I say reason X and bullshit, but
I'm kind of into this one, actually.
You gotta consider the possibility of, hey, maybe Kraus fucked a servant and had a kid because Natsuki couldn't have one, and that's why that servant was holding that baby.
So neither Natsuki's story nor Rosa's story are actually true. There's no red truth saying Rosa saw this person go over the cliff.
Yeah.
It's just that in that story is described as Rosa was the one present, which could mean anything. And for Natsuki, it's the same, where a servant was pushed and someone died.
And that would make the de-emphasis.
There was no child in Rosa's story though.
That makes the de-emphasis of the servant and Natsuki's, man from 19 years ago arc really interesting if these are two tellings of the same event, right?
Hold on, we're not done yet.
We're not done yet.
Why?
Because we have two more events to roll into this because they have to be connected. It's too coincidental. We have two babies that are allegedly born on the same day because of Rudolph's many penises.
Okay, yeah.
But I don't think that is true. I think Asumu had her child. Also, Asumu I'm not there yet. So, Asumu has her baby first, and it's either stillborn or it is taken and given to Natsuki to raise. One of those two things.
Yes.
Or if it is stillborn, then what happens is when Kyrie has her kid, Rudolph's not there to support Kyrie. Rudolph is there to steal the fucking baby and bring it back to be raised as
Battler
by Kraus because they need a kid.
Are you saying that's Jessica?
No.
Oh,
no, that's the Cliff baby. But then who?
That's the Cliff baby.
But then who? Then where's Battler play in? If Asumu's child is stillborn and Kyrie's child is the Cliff baby.
Yeah, who's Battler's mom?
I know, but the other thing I wanted to say is that I'm also just really taking a chunk out of the thought of what if Asumu is Kuwadori and Beatrice.
I thought you were about to say, is the Cliff baby.
What?
Asumu died too recently to be Kuwadori and Beatrice.
Oh, right. Asumu didn't die on that fucking cliff. She died way out of the
Yeah.
air.
She
She
died of natural causes. Literally. She literally died of natural causes.
Unless Splatterdress survived falling off the cliff.
She's fine down there.
She is happy. She is listening to her favorite music.
Look at that thing. It is definitely dead.
Okay, that helps a lot. Thank you so much.
It's still all bad options for who could be
You would doubt the veracity of these tales that you've heard so far? You who have come to this point?
Yes.
You, Madeler Ushiro Winter, who has read all of Higurashi, would talk to me about coincidences?
I only watched Higurashi.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
You think Battler can read? Come on.
He doesn't read. That's what he says.
He reads constantly.
I want to get everyone's consent before I do this, but I have been toying with the option of deploying some original red truths around this because I love seeing you people squirm around it. I promise not to tell you the answer. I promise to only use it to defeat your theories.
Stab me. Kill me.
And my fucking life.
I'm drawing my blade of blue.
All right, good luck.
I'm considering all of that blue. Okay, Matt, what are your, can you feed me one of your specific theories again?
Kyrie's child is alive and was taken to be raised by the Ushiramiya family. You can always take the witch's answer.
Holding my blade. I will, I refuse to answer.
Fair enough.
Another.
The child that fell off the cliff was a Ushiramiya by blood. The baby.
I refuse to answer.
Oh my god, we're winning. We won Umineko.
Can I pick?
Yeah, keep them coming. Keep them coming.
I think that Rosa's story of Beatrice falling off a cliff and Natsuhi's story of the servant and a baby falling off a cliff are two different tellings of the same event.
Neither Rosa nor Natsuhi would mistake either of their victims for the other.
Well, of course not, because Natsuhi doesn't fucking care about the servant. She only places focus on the baby, so that... This is my
Neither of them would mistake the presence of another human being, i.e. a baby, either.
We're doing blue trees. We're doing blue trees.
We are.
Fucking the culprit is transgender woman.
I refuse to answer.
Yes.
I refuse.
Maybe there is a baby like hiding in her skirt.
See, I was thinking that. I thought it'd be too stupid to say, but I was in my head like, there's a baby in a skirt.
Maybe Beatrice is
no
pregnant.
one would mistake the presence of a baby, hidden or otherwise. A baby is too noticeable to be hidden in such a situation.
Beatrice is pregnant, and this
crying,
red
don't
truth
worry.
doesn't count because a baby isn't alive until it's born.
Yeah, fucking Beatrice fell off the cliff with a
The
9 months pregnant baby,
who
and they went down there,
Natsuhi
took
killed
the baby
was
out.
alive.
No, it's dead.
What?
Natsuhi's killed baby is not dead.
I refuse to answer. He is the man from 19 years ago, isn't he? He appears in episode 5.
I
How
think the
could he be
baby.
dead if he shows up in the story?
I think the
refuse to
baby
answer.
doesn't use he/him pronouns. The baby is transgender.
There's only one person named Yushiramiya Battler.
Acknowledged. There is only one person named Ushiramiya Battler.
Ah, I forgot to time it.
There has
Right now.
only
Right now, in
ever-
2022, there's only one person named Ashirmiya Battler.
Oh,
it's
you
me.
people and all your petty little theories. I'll cut them all down at once. In the case of the two children, one who was Ushiramiya Battler and one who was stillborn, as we know them, only Ushiramiya Battler survives. The Ushiramiya Battler who survives is our Ushiramiya Battler, who we have followed from episode 1 to episode 6, who has red hair and is a dumb idiot.
That's the red truth. Oh, shit.
That is a red truth.
It is a red truth.
This
He's
red truth
incompetent.
is valid.
That's right.
The quote-unquote second child does not factor into Umineko in any way beyond ways that we already understand.
Well, that's a
Or
relief because
can
that
understand.
means Battler doesn't want to fuck his fucking cousin.
Oh my god, please.
Battler
Like, literally.
is Kyrie's child.
Literally, my meta reasoning for most of my arguments is that people I trust to not ship incest have been retweeting Battler and Beatrice ship art for years. So they better not be fucking related, or else I'm gonna have to soft block half my timeline.
Maria is the greatest character.
I refuse to repeat it.
Thank you. Yay. Golden truth from
Yeah.
fucking
That one was
Izzy.
a golden truth from Izzy. There are many truths yet to uncover.
Oh god.
Oh, there are some truths yet to uncover, which we
Okay,
believe
okay,
for
okay.
episode 7. Do you have one more? You have
No,
one more?
I'm suckling on
Oh, okay.
what you've given me.
Okay, these juicy red teats. Like, where are you going with that one, Matt?
All right, I'm just going to go down my
Blonde and
massive
bouncy
list
is
real quick
best.
to see if there's anything I want to point out here. Canon, taking time during his death speech, dunks on Goda one last
Yeah,
time.
he does. God, it's Goda. I hate that guy.
Like a month ago, I messaged in the chat. I was like, "This episode's gonna have Matt's favorite line," and I was talking about that one.
Yes.
Oh, it was so good.
I love that it's Canon who it is not Shannon or whatever. It is literally Canon who takes Chick Beatrice's hand when they have like both died, and it is those two. Like Shannon wins the dual TM, but it is Canon who fucking makes Beatrice real, who understands what it is to do a closed room. You know, girl boss gaslight and grumpus pumpus. Like he's the one who fucking he says all of that to her. He teaches her. He takes her through that world and like reawakens the true Beatrice in her. That is part of what makes it so transgender for me. Like I don't know if Canon or Shannon is more real. Shannon wins this duel or whatever because she's been around longer and loved longer, but it is fucking Canon who makes Beatrice real. It is this boy person who knows what it means to be this woman witch. That fucked me up.
Other things. Okay. the perfect games of Beatrice and thinking about how that actually works against Berncastle and makes Berncastle effectively unable to beat Beatrice is because Beatrice has probably thought of like 6 different ways that something could happen in a room. There's no single answer to the closed room problems. And that's why Beatrice can always think around whatever miracle she tries to find, because she can fall back on her contingencies.
Yeah. Think about how in this story we hear Hachijo and Angie both called endless witches, and that Beatrice is an endless witch. Beatrice has 2 schools of magic, golden and endless, and what each of those means apart from each other. To be an endless witch is to be someone who can create something endlessly, who can retell a tale endlessly.
The culprit has to be the woman from 19 years ago.
It is the man from 19 years ago. Natsuhi calls him that specifically.
Yeah, but she's trans, so fuck Natsuhi.
Natsuhi would not mistake the presence of a penis.
Well, I can only work off the red truths we get in the game.
Natsuhi wouldn't know. Natsuhi's never seen a penis in her life.
Don't forget a red truth, it's like Natsuhi's a virgin.
Given how long it took her to conceive Jessica, I do think she might mistake the presence of a penis.
They couldn't figure it out. They couldn't find the right hole.
Hey, it wasn't Natsuhi's fault. Kraus didn't understand how to use it.
Literally wasn't Natsuhi's
His
fault.
dick don't work.
But like, I'm
Red
just
truth.
stuck.
Kraus's dick don't
I'm
work.
just stuck on this one because, like, episode 5, the whole thing with the ungendered being from 19 years ago. She is a woman.
Man.
I will not misgender the culprit.
Or maybe you're actively misgendering the culprit, and you just don't know it.
Can you read truths if I'm misgendering the culprit?
I refuse to repeat it. This is too close to the core of the mystery.
Wait.
What?
I have one more actual blue truth. The man from 19 years ago does exist in whatever the real timeline is currently. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do know what you mean. I acknowledge it.
Wait, you acknowledge that you know what Annabelle means?
I acknowledge that the person who is the man from 19 years ago could have existed in previous timelines.
Okay, so my truth here is that...
Remember that episode 5 is things Beatrice could have done, but not things she would have done.
The infant from 19 years ago is the culprit, because I can't think of any other way that episode 5 and the emphasis that the infant from 19 years ago stuff was something that Beatrice could have used but didn't want to, would be, that means that's something that is, 1, something that she knows, and 2, is something that's personal enough that she didn't want to bring up. So if that's the culprit, then that's your sordid backstory. You don't want to get into that. That's some trauma.
Then the big mystery question is who, what, how, why? What? Then who is this person? Then what was that person? Then how could they still be alive? What the fuck is going on?
How indeed.
Yeah, I don't know the how, but I do think I know the who.
I've got a few more things. Ready?
No.
Yep.
Okay. Beatrice after episode 4, the way she behaves is nearly identical to how Battler behaves after falling in a logical, and I do wonder if she basically did the same thing and fell in a logical until she died.
Yeah, that's a good comparison.
Just a thought.
I kind of thought the same thing.
Yeah, maybe she
at the
logically
very end
herself.
with the wedding, when the wedding came up after all of the exposition, the second time, I was like, oh fuck, this is a lot like that. Good time.
I got another one here. Where is Kinzo's corpse?
It just doesn't matter.
I think it's in a fridge in the study.
Yeah, it's somewhere.
It is there somewhere, because they do burn it.
Yes. Oh, you mean generally, not just in this episode. Yeah.
Well, it's got to be. Well, I'm really stuck on, and I've brought this up more times than I really should have. The smell of Kinzo's study is something that's really perfumed and strong.
It's like formaldehyde, is what you're thinking.
Which would be probably either formaldehyde because they're preserving his corpse, or really strong perfumes to hide that he's slowly rotting somewhere in there. So I think he's in the study.
But Erica searched the study.
But there was that one avenue of escape.
That someone hucked him out the window, his corpse?
Yeah.
There are lots of, there are lots of places I guess we can say that Erica did not inspect.
Yeah, then she
had the detective's authority then.
Yeah, but she did not inspect the cousin's room. She did not inspect the chapel. She did not inspect Kuwadorian. She did not there are lots of places that
she wanted to push her narrative of Natsuhi fucking that old man, in which case she wouldn't look for Kinzo's body, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay, I got a We're almost done, I promise. So another thing is the tea party. We had our tea party episode where we went over the bonus material. And one of the things that popped up in a few different stories was about how, like, ooh, spooky things happen around the mansion. There's a big old demon circle on the wall, and all these pots are stacked up. And that's answered in, like, one line in this episode, where it's mentioned that Kinzo helped the young servants do pranks.
Kinzo liked Cannon a lot and let him play with guns.
Oh, my new
with him.
14-year-old servant, let me hand you my shotgun. Have fun. No wonder these fuckers all died.
Found a Left 4 Dead mod that makes it when you pick up a weapon, it makes the Winchester noise from this game.
I played Left 4 Dead recently, and I just found every single Umineko mod, and I installed it all at the same time. Except I changed all the character models to be from Undertale. Except for Nick. I forgot to change him.
No, that's great. I love when someone's just there.
Okay, you got anything else, Matt? I feel like this episode's pretty much over.
I'm trying. Okay. Yep, that's it.
All right.
Natsuhi's tits are banging. Blue truth.
Acknowledged.
Thank
No
you.
baby has suckled from Natsuhi's tits.
Whoa.
Suckle is the word of the episode.
I wish it wasn't.
Make sure to clap when you hear it.
I wish. Can we end this episode?
Yeah, the only thing that is left in the answer is the answers, and we will discover those in episode 7, Requiem of the Golden Witch.
I am just going to real quickly go, hey, thanks for waiting for me and giving me time to catch up. I hope everyone enjoyed having me back here.
The number one thing that I feel like I certainly discovered and that we all discovered from having an episode without you is that we need you here to be the person. There's a certain driving energy that you bring to the podcast, Matt, and we were lesser for it, and now we are better to have it back.
I'm very, very happy, and I hope everyone enjoyed hearing me talk about mysterious babies, and I'm so happy to be back.
And thank you all, diligent listeners, for waiting so long for all of these episodes to come out. Our release schedule is very irregular. No one's getting paid for any of this. We just show up when we can and talk to each other and scream and yell and fart. And it's it is a very good time. So your patience for these installments as they come out is greatly appreciated, and we certainly hope that you are enjoying them as much as we are producing them.
Jen, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Can you please refute this with red? Maria has killed someone.
Maria is not a killer.
Okay, cool.
Yay.
Could Maria kill someone?
Well, yes,
Maria's ready to kill
Maria
someone.
could. We saw Maria do the endless magic on
Anyone
her.
could kill someone. Anyone could trip with a knife and kill someone.
That's not intended, though. An accident. We had this fucking discussion about whether or not Nanjo has a body count.
We have to end this episode. I'm
Have you
ending
seen
this
how
episode.
good of a doctor he is? Of course he has a body count.
I'm ending this episode. Thank you all so much for listening. You can find us at Golden Truths Pod on Twitter and Tumblr. You can find us on YouTube by searching Golden Truths and Umineko Podcast. You can contact us via email at goldentruthspod@gmail.com. And you can find everything and anything else, including this podcast and our show notes, at goldentruths.net. I am Jennifer Booher, host and witch of communication. I don't remember if I said that at the beginning, but I'm saying it at the end.
You did.
And you can follow me at Kebs, KEBBBBS on Twitter, or at Daihenshin, DAIHENSHIN on Tumblr. Caelum, where can people find you?
Yeah, please DM me your fanfiction to
God.
Hivehum on Twitter. That's HIVEHUM. If you do send me fanfiction, I will laugh at you. But please do it.
Where can people find you, Izzy?
I'm Izzy Timestream on Tumblr, izzytimestream.tumblr.com. If you send me pictures of Maria, like as if I am J. Jonah Jameson from Spider-Man, I will give you 1,000 hugs.
And that's binding. Matt, where can people find you?
You can find me sending pictures of Maria to Izzy for those sweet, sweet hugs. Kidding me? What a bargain. Anyway, you can find me on Tumblr at Your Paper Pal. You can find me on Twitter at I'm Your Paper Pal. Honestly, just search that in random places. You'll probably find me.
We're all on every corner of the
I'll
internet.
be running down the street with a transgender flag.
Literally.
Love that for you.
I haven't in a little bit, so I want to. I'm not actually sure if I've said it on the podcast at all, but thank you to our erstwhile host, Grace Hobson, for our show art, which is wonderful and everything anyone could have ever asked for. Thank you, Grace.
Some call her amazing.
And we will see you all next episode. Until then, sleep peacefully, my beloved witch, Beatrice.
あなたはきっと信じない夢が無限だった存在を恐れてきっと信じない今も語りかけた In your heart それでもずっと信じない愚か閉ざしきった愛情が私を悪い魔女にただ駆り立てる彼と夢見た奇跡は奪い去られもっと信じないそばで見透かされる Betty My 奇跡はずっと大きな夢を探し出した黄金も中身空っぽの目目じゃたかが知れるわ彼と過ごした夜乱の日々が見えない今何かが聞こえてくるんだろう
Is everyone recording now?
I'm recording.
Yes.
Okay. Today my cat was cyberbullied.
Why?
What do you
Why?
mean?
So Cora was hanging out at the window, and outside of the window is the roof. And just like all of us, through windows, another cat came by and started mocking her, and she was very upset.
Damn. Slam.
One time, my cat was looking through the window, and the neighbor's cat saw her and just stopped and took a piss right. She was
Amazing.
pissed. She was
Oh
screaming.
no, that's unforgivable.
I
Sinister
think that's why
animal.
she hates other cats.
Do you think
Oh, is she one of those
that
cats who
your
can't get
cat's gonna
along?
look in a mirror and
she
just go like,
cannot
let's
be around
fucking
other
go?
Cats. She has screamed at pictures of cats. She has hissed at
They're
a painting
evil.
of a cat.
You need to
They're
show her
evil.
like Mr. Mistopheles and see what she thinks of that.
Okay, I'll do that right now. Hold on. Everyone set up time that is.
I'm set up. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, I'm ready.
I'm picking locks.
Matt, Anna, you got it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to do our classic 3 claps at
Good.
20, 25, and 30.
Why would they show me? Oh shit! Sorry, hold on. I'm not ready.
You fucking putz.
I was looking at pictures.
Caelum's just like, wait a minute. What's up with the
so
spam
long.
email I got? Hey, I just won $100 Panera gift card. I better follow this link that I got.
Oh my god.
Nazi, surely this link will restore the honor of the Ushiramiya family.
Sorry, if you search
It
for
just-
Mistopheles, you get the movie instead. Okay.
It goes
I'm
to
ready.
panera.com.com, Kraus. It doesn't, that's not a real URL.
It ends in .com. Yes, spelled DOTCOM.
Okay, are we actually factually ready this time?
Yes.
Oh my god. Okay. Okay, this time 15, 20, and 25. Wahoo.
We rapping terrible. Wow. Okay.
That sounded alright to me. Oh, one of those will be synced up, probably, right?
Like,
We
I
should
can
really
only
just
hear-
do one so that there's no room. We just have to roll with whatever we get.
The 3. No, it has to be the 3 by far.
Can we do 5 and just average
I
it
will
out?
always do 3. But we can do 2 more if you want.
I think we
I think
all
we should go.
We are as synchronized as we can be. We have to capture this energy
We
before
are
it fucking
aligned
dissipates.
in mind, body, and spirit. Yeah.
Oh God. Okay. Been a little bit since everyone's been here. First podcast of the new year. Very exciting.
First podcast in the new apartment.
Yeah, we're christening Izzy's apartment right now.
Christening Matt's
How
house?
many
Christening
how
Matt's
many moves do you
closet.
think between the 5.5 because of Grace of us? How many spaces do you think we're going to record in before the series ends?
So
'Cause I'm
I
up
mean,
to
we're
3.
already up to like 2 or 3 for most of us.
Like, yeah, this is the third apartment I've recorded one of these podcasts in.
Anna
Yeah.
has recorded
I've
a couple
recorded in
times.
2 and I haven't even
Yeah.
moved. So like,
Yeah, literally.
or 3 if you count my bedroom for the first one. Christ.
I'm the only. I'm perfectly. I am the thing around which this podcast revolves. I'm sitting in the exact same spot I always
Okay,
am.
Beatrice. Oh, benevolent golden witch. Yes, you're the
I am-
star.
I- so
you're
I
the
am
golden
not
child.
Recording
sitting
live
in a
from a
chair
portrait
right
hanging
now.
on a wall.
I'm sitting on a bed that's next to another bed that we're going to fucking conglomerate into a mega bed. So I guess
Wait a minute,
I am.
are you like
I
fucking
actually-
Puritans with your 2 beds next to each other? Maybe tonight's the night,
no,
honey.
they're pushed
Yeah,
right
we
up.
pushed them together,
These
sure.
beds are pushed right the fuck together, Matt. These are nasty, horrible sex beds.
Having done this before, definitely think the 2 beds pushed together is very overrated.
Yeah.
You always get stuck in the middle, and the mattresses push apart.
No,
and
Jen,
there
Jen
aren't any
fucking
sheets.
solved the puzzle. Explain,
Okay.
Jen.
Okay,
We can, maybe we can get into this during the break. We have to fucking start this podcast.
Fine.
I'm gonna write a note. Ask about
my
Jen's
God.
sex bed. Ask about
Sex bed of the Golden
Jen's
Witch.
sex bed.
You have no idea.
Yo, this fucking Word document has a chat in it. What the fuck is up with that?
Wait, what? Where?
Yeah.
I don't.
does.
It does.
That's been around for fucking ever.
I've never seen this before.
That's been
With my
that's been
setup,
around
I
for
can't
so
see my
long,
keyboard.
Jen.
Okay, whatever. I can't look at this. This is nothing. Okay. Everybody ready?
Wait, Jen. Just
Huh?
a note for later. Maybe don't put this intro in the comments
in.
this time. Talking about in the end of
Talking
the
about
episode.
my
talking about
sex
your
bed?
sex
You
bed
don't
for-
think
in
that
front of
one's
God
gonna
and
fly?
everybody.
Hi,
That's so
listener.
lovely.
Who's listening to us talk about my sex bed, the sex bed that I have?
Hey,
Sex
we're
bed,
8
the bed that
hours. We are
sexes.
8 episodes into this one. I think it's time that they learn more about us.
They learn more about us. Oh
They
no!
know.
Oh god!
They know. We don't have to tell them.
This is an
God.
episode about learning about the inner world of many characters, including Jennifer Booher.
Yeah, the relationship between me and my bed that I fuck every night.
Fucking bed.
Is that what furniture is?
Oh my
Okay. Podcast starting right now.
Anyway, I do have something. I do have one thing I wanted to point out. I've literally been holding my hand up for nobody.
Yeah, let's call on you,
Yes,
Mattler.
Matthew. Madeler Ushiro Winter, please.
Jesus Christ. Now everyone knows. So here's the thing. Back in episode 2, there's something that everyone else kind of brushed off that it stuck with me the entire damn time. And I don't know what it means, and I still don't know what it means because it's so interesting, which is after the game ends and Battler is thoroughly humiliated and defeated and everything, Beatrice meets up with Burncastle and Lambda Delta, and they're like,
As they do.
Yeah, good
Yeah.
impression. Continue.
Yeah. So anyway, that's where they were. And then Beatrice is like, I'm going to go leave and torment Battler some more. And then she leaves, and Lambda Delta leaves. And then Burncastle turns toward us and talks directly to us. And that's never happened again since then. Nobody's ever talked to us as the readers since then. And back then, you guys tried to brush it off as, no, they're just talking to Battler. But no, Battler's literally being tortured at that time by Beatrice.
I do have a clarification to make. At that time, I believe she said she was going to go torture Rosa.
No, it was Battler, if I recall.
Okay, I'll just I'll
say it in red or
fact check
don't
that.
say it at
Yeah.
all.
I'm fact checking. I'm prepping
on,
my
Matt.
fucking sword right now. But remember that at the start of episode 5, or even at the end of episode 4, I don't remember, but somewhere in there, Battler says, "Oh, Burncastle and Lambda Delta. I feel like I've seen these two somewhere before," and like there is discussion that Burncastle is like like, yeah, my peace battler, I tried to help you, and etc. etc. I mean, whether or not it's like I guess what I can say to your point is that one thing that Feathering says right at the very beginning is it would be poor to read these stories through Battler's eyes anymore, because he is no longer, as the game master, he's no longer a fitting, a fitting player to experience the story through his perspective, because he knows too much. So we could say that Feathering was also kind of acting as the audience in those moments, as the person watching the story and taking it in and forming opinions on it.
Okay. I'm good with that. So, whose eyes do you think we'll see the next chapter from? It's time for Episode of George.
It's
I would rather die.
sure
I'm quitting
is.
Numineko if it's from George's perspective. Sorry. You'll have to find a
Episode
new
7?
fifth.
I
next
would
one?
love Episode of Goda, the most cowardful episode ever.
I would watch episode of Goda.
You're getting
Or read.
lost in the sauce.
This one's gonna come from the perspective of Beatrice.
It's from Burn. It's literally from Burncastle. It's like, we're not talking about that yet. It's literally Burncastle.
No, not the game master, the player of the board, because they said they're not doing Battler this time.
Yeah, there's
Oh,
always,
God. There's no more players. I don't.
Eric
we're
is
not.
back.
We're not there yet. We're not there yet.
we're like halfway through our notes, I think.
we're like we still haven't really talked about Beatrice.
We could spend like
Well,
an hour and a half
that's
on
what we're
Beatrice
spending.
later.
there's not so much to talk about in the lovers.
Yeah, we need
sections.
to tackle
And in fact, the
immediately
things-
the big things so we can get into the nitty gritty. Because we keep
we have
dancing
our
around.
bonus time.
Yeah.
Also,
okay, let's
the long
break
trial.
Now, break happening
Okay,
now, break
I'll
happening
go
now.
feed my
Standing
cat.
up.
Oh my god, I have to
Oh,
like
I'm
crawl
standing up
on my
and standing
knees
up.
to get out of my blanket fort. It's really good. I have a
fun.
really bad time getting back in here. All right, I'll go feed my cat. Be right back.
Yay!
I could get cozy under this blanket fort. I should do it more often.
Oh god.
The only downside is that I have a 2-monitor setup, but only one of them is under the blanket fort. So I keep hearing things pop up on my other monitor. I just can't see them. That's a problem for the me outside this cat box. So how's your day been?
It's been all right. God, what happened? I woke up. What happened was I woke up. I've been working on this outline, and then I had a burger indulgence, and then I got ready for the podcast. It's pretty much been my day.
Yeah, I think this might be our biggest, like our most active worksheet yet. We had a lot to say
yeah.
about this episode, so good work on compressing it
yeah.
down. Oh my god,
Yeah,
Matt had so much! I didn't read
And
it.
even I had to give myself the out of putting at the very bottom here. I don't know. There's so many things I couldn't exactly fit into here. So here's some bonus stuff we can talk about.
Any cop-out moments, yeah.
Look, it's fucking episode 6. You guys understand a lot. So, like, I can walk you through the episode, but there are specific questions and things that y'all have that I can't exactly weave into the episode part of the episode.
Wait, god damn it, I didn't even get to talk about how fucking Delanor and Erica is the fucking ship.
That's such a bad ship. I
you've
can't
got time
stand
right
it.
now
It's
before everyone gets
It's
back.
canon.
It's
She
not
holds her
canon.
dying body. It's canon. She holds her and she's like, "Oh, Erica, you were great out
Nobody
there.
listened to this.
It was fun." Nobody listened.
Sorry, my alarm was going
It's
off.
cute. It's nice. She helps her on purpose. She's like, "I sent you away." She's like, "You need help."
Selenor is like, I
worse.
can't get a therapist to Rokenjima, so I'm gonna have to substitute.
I'm not really qualified.
What?
Talk about
Substitute?
therapy.
No, I've heard of
Where
it.
have you been, Jen?
I'm nowhere.
Tell me about your sex bed.
Floating.
Oh god.
It's not really. It's just like, so I've had this single for like
a
years
twin?
since I got out of college.
It was a
No,
twin.
like a single.
What the fuck is
Like
a single?
less than a twin. It's a twin,
What is
but
it, like a-
but
It's a
smaller.
Like a
it's
strip?
a baby. It's an extra skinny bed. Yes.
Yeah. It's this. It's,
What happened
it's
to
the
you
same.
roll over? Do you just fall off?
Yes.
I
Yes,
just kinda,
yes.
You wedge it against the wall.
So now I bought a full size bed, and I was going to just do that, but then I and my girlfriends had the particularly evil idea of strapping the two beds together to create a mega bed.
I'm
It's
telling you,
super
it's a bad
king.
idea. I've done
It
that
is,
before.
It's still in the trial phase. There are tests, there is science to be done on the sex bed, which is also just a regular bed. I do need to
This
stress
is-
that it's not just for
This
sex.
is fucking bullshit. How are we supposed to have our lovers' duels if you have an extra lover in the mix? This sucks.
Oh my god! Literally.
Oh,
Well, look,
Matt,
Umineko
no.
reveals itself to be a fairly monogamous.
Cackle.
Yeah,
Hold on,
yeah,
no,
yeah,
I want to
yeah.
go back to the sex bed.
Okay,
There-
so
there's-
let
it's
me
just two
explain.
beds.
No, I
They're
have
strapped
things to
together.
say about
Jenny's
this.
literally-
Shut
I know,
up.
I know.
I
Hold
wrote
on,
shut up.
Jenny-
I want to talk about the sex bed.
Well, the question was how Jenny has a solution for this bed, which she came up with, which was the original thing, which she forgot. Her solution was that you put your head along the. You know how like
The
there's
side,
on a
the
single
quote-unquote
bed, there's
side
the
of the
really
bed.
long one that your whole body goes across, and there's the really small one that you can roll
Yes.
1 inch.
Because it's
You
a
put your
rectangle.
head. You turn the other way. You put your head against the long side, and then you stretch your legs out so that your lower legs go over the funny bump instead of
Yeah.
someone sleeping inside of the crack, which I also did for 2 years.
Sleeping
So-
inside the
Funny
crack
bump.
is a funny
so
way
everyone,
to say that.
everyone has. Hey,
No, it's really
I've
it,
got,
though.
I've got all sorts of things for you.
The way I see it, there are two ways to properly assemble a sex bed. One of them is to get a sheet that's big enough to combine both sides.
Yes.
Which I don't know if this really exists because you're not typically going to make like a
It's
a
just a king.
standardized.
It's like the size of a king bed.
No, ours is
Listen,
bigger than a king,
my-
but I was
my
looking into
fucking-
those sheets.
I didn't find out a single mattress existed before today, and I think my Minecraft bed sheets are for a single and not a twin, and that's why I constantly have problems with them falling off my bed.
We're all just unearthing all kinds of truths today.
But the other option is to get a room, for example, a walk-in closet that is the exact width of your sex bed. In which case, there's just no.
It's just a bed. It's just a bed. Lots of things happens
what
on
purpose
every
does
bed.
the walk-in closet serve?
Because the
That's
idea.
the sex closet.
Red truth. Any bed is a sex bed if you try hard enough.
God damn you people.
It's just the idea between strapping two things together is you can all stretch out your legs and you can all snuggle and you can all like roll over a little bit.
I've done that on a full.
Nobody even has to sleep on the crack.
It's a little squonky on a full. Like you try and fit
I
three
have-
people on a full, it's not really.
Oh, boy.
That
It is
dog
not
doesn't really
comfortable.
help.
I have been in
Yeah.
some polycules in my time, and one time I cuddled on just like a pile of dirty clothes on the ground. Not my brightest moment.
It's good.
clothes.
It works for
You're
a
so
night.
valuable, but I'm fucking 27. I'm going to be 30 in very short amount of time.
Can you shut
and my
up? I'm
back is
older
not
than
going to
you.
hold up that long.
Listen, everybody.
You can't fucking say I'm gonna be 30 in a short period of time and be younger than me.
I'm just saying.
Listen. The share button
Listening.
in Google Docs looks like a glasses-wearing man bun guy.
Thank you, Matt.
Where's the share button?
It's in Google Docs.
Send us a little.
When are you gonna share
It's
us?
just like the little bubble. It's just like the three bubbles, right? Not actually.
Anyway,
Oh,
you make it a
Anyway.
walk-in closet because the idea is that if it's the width of all the combined mattresses, then there's nowhere for the crack to expand. And also, it's really
Yeah,
comfy to just have a closet.
No.
that you sleep in.
The crack expanding
is
is actually kind of the idea here, Caelum.
It's adjustable for any time of occupant.
It does look a little bit like a man bun guy. You're right. Matt.
Yeah, you're right. I think I see this guy at the coffee shop once a week.
All right,
What in
Izzy, have
what-
you been cowering in
Oh.
fear for the last 10 minutes? Please
I
come
mean,
back and Save
I've
us.
been trying to speak, but everyone is so excited about this sex bed. I feel bad
So
interrupting.
sorry, Izzy.
Please stop
Yeah,
us.
the obvious solution, just build a room to the exact size of your 2 beds.
Yeah,
God.
I don't know why you haven't thought of this before.
The real world solution to the sex bed crack widening is you get a strap to hold the crack in place. Anyway, now that we've said that, which is a red truth,
Speaking
Izzy,
of
what do you
sex
have to
beds,
say?
the love trial.
Oh, what do I have to say about sex
Oh
beds?
god,
well,
no!
it could
No
be
one
about
has
sex
to.
bed, it could be about
Because
anything.
this is all going in the funny after pod. None of this is making it into the actual
What, you
canonical
mean you don't want to
fucking
talk about
podcast.
the
This is
Love
actually
Duel
the whole
sex
length.
bed?
No. Okay.
Listen, you get 3 twin mattresses, and that's Shannon, Cannon, and Beatrice. It all makes sense.
And we're back. Hi, everybody.
Oh shit!
Self-cess
I'm
for
not in
real?
Welcome
my
back to
blanket. Hold
Golden Trees and Umineka podcast.
I didn't say that. Okay, sorry, I'll stop it.
Before our quote-unquote break, we were finishing up talking about Erica, and now we can... Zepar and Furfur.
they're so
Caelum, are
good.
these your kins? Is this your kin?
No.
No, we have not yet reached Caelum's kin.
What the
That is,
fuck?
I
What
will say
planet?
I believe
There
that
are
to be in the next
characters.
episode.
What the fuck was that?
Jesus Christ!
Hello?
Hello.
Oh god, I just had a heart attack.
We love you so much,
Did you die?
Judy.
Did you die in Dark Souls? Are you okay? Are you alive in real life?
We're gonna take a second to recover from that one. Oh my god.
Do your vocal exercises, Kevs. Recover.
Zoo. So, God. So, one of my girlfriends is recording in another one of my girlfriend's rooms, and that the second girlfriend has a speaker hooked up in that room that can just play noises. And sometimes things just happen.
Hey,
It's
that's how
fine.
speakers work. They
Sorry
play
to-
noises.
Sorry to ruin the magic of that moment. Anyways, fuck.
Kebs and her
Zep-
2 weed smoking girlfriends.
Literally, and one of them smokes weed.
Kebs and her 1 weed smoking girlfriend.
No, they're 2 weed smoking girlfriends. It's just only one of them smokes weed.
Yeah, red truth.
So,
Oh my god, you're
Yeah,
really
Richard.
on one today.
okay, fuck. What the fuck are... Okay, we're rolling... There's going to be a cut. Some amount of that is coming out.
Zepar and Furfur.
Zepar and Furfur, they're so gender.
Zepar and Furfur, I believe Caelum's kin comes in episode 7. I
You
believe
can't...
that to be
Okay,
yet forthcoming.